Steve, you have grown up around NASCAR your entire life. Have you ever felt an aura or seen a backdrop like what we're seeing here?
Rick, I can't believe this is real. It is so real. We are standing inside a world-class 12-turn road course that's set up in the middle of Chicago.
You know, we talk about that each weekend in NASCAR racing is an event. Yeah. Now, this has gone to another level.
Yeah, I agree. It's a significant event. You just look at all the people wandering through, all the different faces. Everyone's coming to see what's going on with this spectacle called NASCAR. A lot of these folks have never even seen a NASCAR race, and that is great to have all these new eyeballs on our sport. So excited to be here. This is a great opportunity for our sport.
The cars about ready to fire the engines for the first time ever in NASCAR's history. 75 years of racing, and this has never happened. They're about to race on a street course.
And if you feel the anxiety, so don't the competitors, right? The street course was enough. But as a former crew chief, this was always the most pressure-packed time I can't imagine.
All smiles now on the faces as everyone here in Chicago knows what is about to happen.
Drivers, start your engines! Let's go!
NASCAR is racing in the streets of Chicago. Down the front stretch they come for the first time.
Notable Live is your fast track to one-of-a-kind experiences with your favorite athletes, like race day with Emmett Smith and Jesse Aruji, game day with Eddie George, or fishing with Ray Lewis.
And we got a party going on over here.
So, rev up your fan experience with Notable Live, your direct connection to the athletes you love and the memories and memorabilia you crave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Check out our latest events and auctions at notable.live.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself.
Yeah, you can be the 100 man like schools, 100 kids just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, them seeds to win the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 bands. Yeah, what I supply is always in the man. The throne is my tank, and then a high five got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know put a fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they been next to me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling? I showed them the jig is up again. When I asked them who was the best, they get this to stuttering. Tell them
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself.
I can't lose, I won't lose. No way, I won't let you finish. Make it to the top with the same ones I came with. I shoot my shot, you better know that I'ma never miss. When they coming for me, yeah, I'm gonna tell them this.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. I'ma keep. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you only gon' play yourself. That's right.
Live from iRacing's virtual Iowa Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2024 eRacing Association Omega Cup Summer Bowl. And welcome into the ERA pre-race show on Podium. We're alongside of myself, Evan Pizzoco. Happy to be joined, as always, by NASCAR driver Jesse Awuji, as well as Kenneth Bueno in the broadcast booth. Our producer downstairs is Ryan Bauer. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And Jesse, we're back at it again for a 15th time with the ERA Omega Cup and a first in a trip here to the short track at Iowa.
Yeah, tonight is going to be a very, very exciting race. And the cool thing is, in real life, NASCAR is actually going back to Iowa. They haven't been there in a really long time. I remember back in my NASCAR K&N Pro Series West days in 2016, 17, and 18, we used to go over there and race. And yeah, it's been a while since we've been there. So it's going to be very interesting in real life to see what's going to be happening at that track. A lot of folks haven't ran there forever. Some people haven't ran there ever. But tonight is what's really important. And tonight, we are taking our Omega Cup Series to Iowa Speedway, a beautiful track, just a hair bit under 1 mile, but it races like a multi-bank intermediate track. It's a fun track. You have a lot of different grooves you can run: high line, mid line, low line. You can get real loose coming out of turn 4 for sure. It's a track that you can have a lot of fun, a lot of places to make some really cool passes, and a lot of areas where you can get really aggressive, especially here. So I'm looking forward to see how the racing shapes up. But at the end of the day, everybody's fighting for that big cash prize. They want to go home with $4,000 because we're giving away $5,000 cash prizes for the top 5, and somebody's going to be walking away with quite a bit of money.
That's been a trend as well. I mean, Kenneth, it's good to have you back again on this series. So over $65,000 has been given away in the previous 14 rounds of this ERA Omega Cup. There are very few, if any, other big money races like this on the service that have been coming back year after year after year. And I think it's also fun, Jesse, tying in the talk about how NASCAR, the Cup Series, is going to Iowa Speedway. Iowa's kind of been the buzz of the sim lately as well, right? Because the Real World Series is going there. There's a lot of official racing there. The Coke Series is going there. So I think this all ties together quite nicely.
It really does, Evan. And in a way, you got to shake off the rust, because after being multiple years without Iowa in real life and in the sim for a lot of schedules, when you come back to this track that usually has all the characteristics of an abrasive track bundled into one here in Newton, Iowa, it adds to the fun and it adds to the overall challenge for not only some of the Coke Series drivers that we'll see on tap tonight, but plenty of the others that are searching for the $4,000 grand prize at the end.
And that's the big thing, is anybody in this series, or anybody on the sim, could compete in this series, make an attempt to qualify in, Jesse. That's why we'll see some very recognizable names on the service, racing against some names who we may not have seen in previous Omega Cup races.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the Omega Cup Series is anybody can come in, right? As long as you're a signed up member, as long as you head to our website, which is eragaming.gg, and you sign up and you become a member, you can jump into any one of our races. There is not like we're limiting it. We're only limiting the drivers who actually get into the main event. But if you can qualify your way in, if you're fast enough, if you're quick enough on that day, then hey, you've got a shot. And we see all different kind of drivers coming from the Coke Series, coming from just people who maybe just gotten on the service in the last year. You name it. If you're good enough and you can get in, and you have a chance to go win part of that $5,000 cash prizes.
Big money on the line tonight, and of course, a new venue for us in the history of this ERA Omega Cup. Well, let's talk with some of the drivers who are familiar with these special events. And if we rewind back to earlier this year into February, it was Cody Nagels who took home the checkered flag at the Daytona International Speedway. He is back for more tonight. So, Cody, welcome back to the podium booth. What's the game plan to go 2 for 2 on the season? Iowa, obviously a very different challenge to what we saw on the high banks of Daytona earlier this year.
It's going to be a challenge starting dead last. I had a really, really bad quali lap, and I was a lot faster in practice, and I messed up. So I just got to weave my way through the field, and, I just want a respectable finish. I just bought the track this week, just turned my first laps a couple days ago, and yeah, not really expecting a whole lot, but, I do want to put together a respectable race. Much different than Daytona, but I think it's just going to be patient, saving your tires, and not accelerating the corners too quick.
And that's the point that we've actually mentioned already on the pre-race show, the fact that this racetrack may not be all that familiar for a lot of folks. So you mentioned you just bought it and downloaded it this week. Walk us through that process. How do you learn a racetrack from scratch leading into an event like this?
I think I just have to lean on some of my teammates, like Matt Lee, who's kind of showed me around the track a little bit, and guys who maybe have more experience, because I know Matt is friends with several guys on the service. So I got to talk to several of his buddies, guys like Peyton Howell and Andrew Navarro, and just try to get some tips and tricks and how to navigate this deeper into a run. Because obviously, anyone can be quick in the short run, but I think where it's really going to show is if we get a long green flag run, hopefully, and then I can let the race kind of come to me a little bit.
And we've seen some long races here with this ERA Omega Cup. Tonight, I think, kind of falls into the middle, right? 120 laps in distance is a healthy dose, but it is a smaller track. That's going to tick by if we get some of the longer green flag runs that you mentioned. So the fact that you've already alluded to, you're going to be starting towards the rear, how much do you allow that to change how aggressive you are? Or does that kind of open up a trap in trying to overdrive given the short distance and the poor quality effort for you? Do you try to avoid falling into that?
I think I have to avoid falling into the trap of trying to run quick out of the gate, because you're not going to pass a bunch of cars in one run. I just need to survive, let the race come to me a little bit, because it is a short track and it's just 120 laps. But, I think that's enough time to at least finish with a respectable finish. One thing I can't do is just running too hard early.
Well, we'll let you get back to it, but we appreciate the time, Cody. Again, thanks for chatting with us, and best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
That's your Daytona Spring Bowl race winner, Cody Nagels. Let's keep it with the theme of previous ERA Omega Cup race winners. And let's toss things over to somebody who's found victory lane twice in these big events, Garrett Maines. Kenneth is with him.
Looking to tie Vicente Salas as the all-time wins leader in all of the ERA Omega Cup races in history. Garrett joins us now. First of all, thank you, Garrett, for joining us. You're at the top of the board, P1, and it seems like you're only improving. You continued to be faster through practice and qualifying. How do you figure this race is going to go for you, knowing you've got the top spot when we wave the green flag?
Yeah, starting it off strong for sure. Qualifying's been my Achilles heel for a long time, but we're on a fixed setup tonight, and I think I found something. So I'm hoping that'll work out for me in the race. But I'm just trying to figure out, how to make this thing last more than 15 laps. I think everybody out here is struggling to keep the rear tires on it past 15. Like, you get to 15, and then you are essentially along for the ride. I'm very curious to see how this is going to pan out. How many people you're going to have push to get to the front and then fall off a cliff and be out of control. It's going to be interesting. I don't know exactly how this is going to shape out, but I feel like we set ourselves up about as strong as we can. We got the first box, pretty short stint to that, to the pit exit line. So that gives us, some opportunities. I thought, Martinsville last year was going to be number 3, but I'm hoping to make tonight.
Looking to grab another $4,000 to your bank account. And Iowa's one of those short tracks that handles differently than a lot of the others. Bristol, Martinsville, Phoenix, they all drive a specific way. But Iowa is so abrasive in its own nature. So many bumps, so many lanes that you can use as an option around the racetrack. how important is track position going to be? Knowing you've got the top spot, how important is that going to be to leverage that advantage at the start of this race, push onward to lap 120, knowing that, especially with these next-gen cars, it can be pretty difficult to get around some of the other competition?
Yeah, so, I mean, for people that do drive this car, and maybe also those that don't, aero is a huge thing in these, and dirty air is going to be big tonight. I think, the car wants to run the bottom, and especially you get 15 laps in, it really doesn't want to be anywhere on the racetrack. But what's happening is that the rear end is like completely disconnected. You get 15 laps in, your downforce is gone, and you get somebody up behind you. It is hard to hold on to. These cars don't like to be yawed out, and I think if you have somebody nose to tail, they're going to be yawed out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out for us, but who's going to be able to keep the rear tires on further than 15 laps is going to yield results if we go longer than that. So,
and I'm guessing that once we see drivers go side by side, Garrett, it's going to be a lot of fun, or go sideways, if you will, because of how many bumps are here around Iowa. But you're one of the several Coke Series drivers that are taking Iowa tonight in this Omega Cup Summer Bowl. How important is that going to be for the Coke Series race later on in the season when you guys get to take on Iowa in the series itself? How important is this race going to be to maybe get a little bit of tidbits, maybe some notes about how this car handles here to prep for that Coke race later on this season?
Well, so I will say this. I didn't even realize Coke race was in 2 weeks here. It gives me some confidence coming in because I definitely have, I have some pace here, but I think this is going to be totally different. This setup drives completely different than we would drive an open setup that actually is, properly sealed and like kind of glued to the track. You still have the dirty air issue, but this makes you have to get up on the wheel on a whole nother level. You're going to see a lot of people like searching around to try not to, you get to the center of the corner, you're not even on the gas and the thing is starting to float out. So it's going to be a lot of throttle control tonight. There's going to be a lot of people having to get up on the wheel, and hopefully I'm going to be one of them, but we'll see. This is going to be wild. I'm interested to see how it pans out for myself because I don't even know how this is going to go. I don't think it's going to be about hot lap pace unless it's a 5-lap dash.
A lot of questions, but we'll find out the answers, and I think that's what makes a lot of the fun of this series and, of course, running here at Iowa for the very first time. Garrett, we wish you the best of luck as we take the green flag in just several minutes, and hopefully we can talk to you at the end of this one with a third ERA win in your hands.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That is Garrett Main's two-time winner looking to tie Vicente Salas, Evan, for the most in series history.
You can tell for sure it's on his mind. Let's talk more about the ring for tonight, and that is this 7/8 of a mile Iowa Speedway located in Newton, Iowa. This racetrack was built under the auspices of NASCAR champion Rusty Wallace, so no surprise that this D-shaped oval kind of looks a lot like Richmond, a racetrack that he had a lot of success at during his career. Banked corners, 10 to 12 degrees, but Jesse, I'll defer to you on how it drives because I've never done it.
It's a fun track. I really like it a lot. Now, it's been some years since I've been there. The last time I personally ran at the track was 2018. And I know even just during that time, it was definitely pretty abrasive, which is something that we've talked about over the interview. And tire strategy, just trying to figure out how to manage your tire, right? It's not about going in there and figuring out, okay, who's going to just do a sprint race type of race. No, you can't. You got to be able to manage because you never know when you're going to be on a run because things will get spread out a little bit. Even though it is technically a short track, you can actually get spread out a little bit and everybody can be running their own race, almost follow the leader if everybody is just, taking it cool and being relaxed about how they're going about attacking this track. But as you're going, you got to manage those tires. You got to be easy every single lap. The car will do something different than it did the lap before. You cannot expect it to be the same car lap after lap after lap. Literally 1 to 2 laps, it could be completely different. So you just got to be ready to handle that. You got to be ready to counter steer because you're going to go in the corner. The back end's going to step out a little bit. You got to be ready to catch it immediately, right? You don't want to have too much yaw. And then from there, it's just, you got to drive it. Tonight is about figuring out who is the best driver.
And of course, talking through the race itself, Kenneth, that $5,000 prize, that's what we have led with. But more on the specifics, 120 laps tonight for 105 miles total.
It is not a long race by any stretch of the imagination, especially since we are here at Iowa. So it's going to go by very quickly if we get into a long green flag run, but you never know just because of the difficulty of this track. Jesse alluded to it already. The fact that we'll see drivers get a bit of yaw on their race cars. We might see some cautions. If we do, we've got 3 green-white checkered attempts at overtime just in case we need them. And 1 fast repair is going to mean a lot too, especially if you do find yourself in some trouble. You can have a bit of a freebie, get yourself back on the track with a clean race car, try to get to 120 as clean and as green as possible.
And we're just about set to drop the green flag on this one, so let's get set for pre-race ceremonies. It starts with tonight's national anthem performed by Nashville recording artist Jared Ashley.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And now for the most famous words in motorsports to our Grand Marshal, NFL Hall of Famer Willie Roaf.
Hi, this is Willie Roaf, NFL Hall of Famer. Drivers, start your engine.
And with that, we are ready to rock and roll in Newton. We go trackside and take a look at your starting grid, and it is Garrett Maines on pole in search of a record-tying 3rd Omega Cup win, but he's got some stiff competition alongside and a lot of fellow eNASCAR talent. It includes the 5 of Zach Novak, who starts in 2nd. Row number 2, we'll see another eNASCAR driver, and Malik Ray start in 3rd, and to his outside, the number 34 of Andre Castro starting in 4th. Back on row number 5, Chris Wetz will start in the number 5 spot on row 3, and Jason Baines to the outside. He will start from P6. Back to row number 4, it is the 42 of Michael Guest on the inside, and the 54 of Sean M. Conklin on the outside. And through your top 10, inside of row number 5, P9 on the grid is Hayden Swank, and Cody Harris rounds out those top 10.
Back in row number 6, you'll find Dustin Scruggs in the number 22, Jakob Smetana on his outside in 12th spot. Michael Sturgill, winner of the Spring Bowl race at Daytona back in 2021, looking for his 2nd win in the Omega Cup with Matthew Lee in the number 04 on his outside in row 7. Christopher Reagan and Brandon Barrier round out the top 2 in row number 8 before you find TJ Allain in number 51 from 17. Cole Larson from the 24 car is in 18th spot, and rounding out the top 20 in row number 10, Aaron Raymond in the number 36 and the 17 of Matt Johnson.
That takes us halfway home. 21st and 22nd tonight going to be occupied by the 39 of Raul Alves and the 13 of Yakov Kursadov. 23rd on the grid to the 70 machine. That is Derek Fulton and Andrew Schroeder to the outside of row number 12. Lucky row 13 will see the 26 of Brady DeBlack and the 21 of Christopher Heights lined up side by side. Back on row number 14, it'll be Jacob Ballmain in the 83 car and John Anderson in the 56. And back on row 15, P29 to Joe Hobbs and Trent Cusack rounds out your top 30.
The final 10 drivers in this field have a lot of work cut out for them here at Iowa. It starts with Alex Jones in the 45 and 31st. Chris Papa on the outside in row 16. That is 32nd place. Keegan Doherty in the number 40 is 33rd. DeAndre Kane on his outside in 34th place. Andrew Hennigar in the 11th starts inside in 35th with Cody Beasley flanked alongside in 36th place before you find Larry McDonald and Vicente Guerrero 37th, 38th, leading us to the final row in this 40-car field. Mark Lamore in the 09 and Cody Nagels shotgun in the field, 40th, looking for his second straight Omega Cup win.
He's got some work to do, and there is a lot of heavy hitters scattered throughout this one as they race for a $5,000 purse, $4 grand of which going to go to our eventual race winner. This series has started to build up some history, and so has this Summer Bowl. It all started with Vicente Salas winning at Circuit of the Americas in 2021. Then Bobby Zelensky also on a road course at Road America in 2022. Mixed things up last summer, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the first oval race to host a Summer Bowl. Vicente Salas won that one, and tonight it'll be the first short track race for this prestigious event. And we're happy that you're spending your Wednesday evening with us here on Podium. Pace car down and in, field in the hands of Garrett Maines as we say, let's go racing at Iowa. Clean through the first 7/8 of a mile. Garrett Maines leads at the end of lap number 1. Your top 5 or 6 or so single filed out. There's a look off of the back of the race leader, Garrett Maines. Looking on to Zach Novak, who's able to defend P2.
What a beautiful view. I mean, these angles on here, it makes you feel like it's actual real life racing, but it's on the sim. All these drivers are at home, and you'll see all the in-car, we call it in-car, really what it is in your bedroom cameras, where you're gonna watch these drivers trying to wheel these cars. I mean, it's a very, very realistic simulator. This isn't like any other video game. These drivers have to put in so much time to get good at driving these vehicles, and although you're watching them and it looks like they're just being real smooth and it's easy, it's not easy. There's some very, very precise micro movements happening just to be able to keep that car on track and to be able to put down a fast lap every single lap against other vehicles out there trying to do the same thing and trying to get to the same place you're going to, trying to run the same line you're running, trying to get the same position you're at. There's so much going on, and you can't even see it just from watching it at home. The only way to truly experience it is actually to hop on a sim or do it in real life.
It looks like the aggressor at the moment up front is Zach Novak again. Maines had the good start. Look at those top two, though. They have pulled way out in front of everybody else, and they are fighting amongst each other. A little bit further back, you go on board with Trent Cusack, middle of some of the other fighting going on. He might have got a bit of the wall that time. As to the inside of the 8 car, he's got a challenge underneath him.
Yeah, these are only the first several battles you're seeing on track, Evan, and a lot of it turns down to the patience you need to have when you run here at Iowa Speedway, because this track has so many nasty bumps that you really can take your car off for a spin. And here's Zach Novak to the inside looking for the lead on Garrett Maines. He's got it down low. 1 and 2, first lead change.
Wow.
Zach Novak as Maines looks for the crossover.
Oh, that was a clean pass. I have to give it up to these guys, but Zach takes it right back.
You're not done yet. That 12 going to go right back underneath. Maines to the lead for a moment. Novak crosses him back, and I think they traded off the race lead about 3 different times that lap, but in the end, Zach Novak does get his first lap led of the afternoon. Just look how aggressive those top 2 are. We're on board here with Michael Guest, currently in the number 8 spot. Those lead 2 cars have checked way out from the rest of the fighting you're looking at here from P3 on back.
Yes, it shows you, Evan, just how comfortable Novak and Maines are right now at running this racetrack, because it feels like everyone else, in a sense, they're all still getting their bearings together. It's not an easy track to drive, so you got to make sure that you're patient with yourself before you can start to push things on the racetrack, and that's where you were looking on board now with Malik Ray. You were looking on board with fellow Coke Series driver Michael Guest. They're further back in this field, but they're just taking it a little easier than Novak and Maines have, and therefore you can see about the 2nd and 5/10 you've got between Maines and then Malik Ray all the way back in 3rd place as you look on board with Yakov Kirsanov back there in the field. Many of these guys still trying to understand this Iowa Speedway, get used to it before they can push the envelope.
The driver sweating right now is Malik Ray, because the drivers in front of him have checked out and the cars behind him are all stacked up on his bumper. You go on board with Andre Castro. That driver started up at 4th, has slipped back a spot to P5. That's because Sean Conklin's been a big mover. 4 spots gained already. That's more than anybody else inside of the top 15. So good to see the 54 making moves as a move on Malik for 3rd next. He's been looking again, a peek to the inside. No solid commitment yet, though, but Conklin's thinking about it.
Very, very surprised to see how clean everything's been going for these first 13 or so laps. I mean, the front 2 drivers, Zach Novak, Garrett Maines, I mean, they're out there doing their thing. And they were battling very, very hard at first. And I'm very curious to kind of see how that affects them. As long as we continue to go green, everybody's tires is going to be in a certain place here in the next 5 to 10 laps or so. I'm very curious to see what kind of pace the top 2 are able to continue to keep when they were battling as hard as they are. The moment you start diving underneath someone and doing this crisscrossing around for multiple laps, that really, really puts a stress and strain on these tires. I mean, you're just taking away grip that you can potentially have, 20, 30 laps down the road. And now that we're running clean, maybe they didn't think we're going to run as clean, and we're still on this same original heat cycle to start the race. These cars are all going to start falling off slowly. I'm just curious to see how long before... There we go. There's the caution. That might help him out a little bit.
Almost straight on cue, caution flag number 1 of the afternoon comes out. There is a heavily damaged car on pit road, and limping into the pit stall is Alex Jones. Let's see what happened if he was one of the cars involved, and we rewind it to see what happened off of 2. I think Jones gets in this, but I think he is late into it. And oh yeah, there it is up the road, Kenneth. It was Chris Papa who was around, and Jones simply arrived on the scene in the wrong place.
Yeah, Jones really had nowhere to go there. And again, it just shows you how abrasive this Iowa Speedway is. Running in the middle, you still get these pretty nasty bumps that oscillate the race car. Papa's loose from the get-go at the exit of turn 2. Bam, into the outside wall he goes, just with a slight overcorrection. These next-gen cars are not easy to correct when you're in the middle of a slide, so Papa immediately directed it to the outside wall, trying to save it, and all of a sudden Alex Jones with nowhere to go. But this caution spices things up, guys. Field on pit road. Zach Novak leading them in.
Hey, Jesse, it looks like everybody going to be coming to pit road this time. Of course, Novak took the lead away from Garrett Maines. I'm curious, though. It's an interesting pit road here at Iowa with that curve down on the inside of turn 1. But Garrett Maines has that number 1 pit stall, could set the 12 up to win the race off of pit road. You're looking for the white line with the green cone on exit.
This will be a battle coming off. I mean, we're about to see it here in just a few seconds. It's going to get really, really interesting to see who's able to get off pit road first. Folks are coming up.
I
That was
think
close.
Novak might have been able to hang on. That first pit stall is always such an advantage for the pole sitter, but Novak was better in the box, 14.4 compared to 14.6 seconds for Maines. I think that's going to allow the 5 to win the race off of pit road. That does not, though, mean that he's the leader, because Braden Black and Andrew Henniger and Mark Lamore, first, second, and third, they all stay out, and we are less than 20 laps into this thing, Kenneth, and you mentioned spicy on pit road. How about spicy on the pit strategy?
Spice on the Wendy's chicken sandwich for sure. But Black, Henniger, and Lamore, I think they're in that situation where you're on the fence about when you want to come down pit road, because 18 laps at Iowa isn't really that much if you think about it. So for a lot of drivers, their idea is, maybe we haven't run too long of a green flag run. Let's not use our tire sets now. Let's wait until another caution comes out, and then we can start to use the fresh rubber sets. So for those guys, why not take the track position early when a lot of these guys started further back in the field? All of them started 25th or worse in this field. So it's a why not call for track position, also to save a set, just in case some more yellows fly on the racetrack later on.
Of course, the challenge is going to be they will be at some sort of a tire disadvantage, Jesse. I don't know if it's a race-winning move at this point in the race, but Black, for example, was 19th before the caution flag came out. I think Henniger was kind of mid-20s or so. So even if they don't stay up front, if they don't fall back to where they were before and can at least bridge to the next cycle, it could be a big gain.
Well, but that's the issue, though. Even if they don't fall all the way back, let's say they don't lose 20 spots or 30 spots or whatever, the issue is falling back, period. I mean, you're going up against a lot of really good drivers. I mean, most of the field was separated within like a half a second, right? So everybody is really right on par, about the same speed. If everybody goes in and puts on new tires, and those new tires will help you out, it will give you a few more tenths depending on how much they have fallen off. Like that's gonna be tough, because as you start falling back, you are now basically a rolling chicane, and that's where wrecks start happening, cautions start flying. I mean, you can cause a lot of mess, and that's the tough part. It's not necessarily like, hey, I want to get this track position now because it's going to be important. It's about, you're not going to be able to maintain it. You're guaranteed not going to be able to maintain it, and then you're going to fall back, and when you fall back, all of a sudden, that's where things can start getting hairy. Now, I hope they prove me wrong, but I just don't know if that would have been the move I personally would have made.
I think they're delivering chaos early, no matter what. I think it's also going to be interesting. You saw the look on the board there with Novak, Kenneth. He's going to be outside of row 2. I wonder if that's a better starting spot to be in as the first car on tires, because he can potentially go 3 wide to the outside. I wonder if I'm Garrett Maines, the 12th car inside of row 3, if he feels a little bit more trapped being on the inside.
You do, because you're sort of boxed in, and you've also got other drivers on fresh tires to your outside, Malik Ray being one of them in his specific row, and that's the third one to the green flag. So you do kind of get a little bit scared, and you also have to think about, if the drivers in front of you are on old tires, they are susceptible to wheel spin. Big trouble that can happen, especially here with a track surface like Iowa, so keep that in mind as the field gets ready for the restart.
20 laps down, still 100 laps to go on the scoring pylon. Green flag back in the air for Black, Henniger, and Lamore, who stay out on the old tires, but it's short-lived. Caution behind them in the midfield. Several cars spinning. Aaron Ramon, one of them, right at the start-finish line.
And it all started, Evan, with a big stack up on the inside. That's exactly what Garrett Maines did not want to see. The second place car on the inside lane just struggles to get going at the wave of the green flag. It backs everyone up. Aaron Ramon gets stuck in all of that, gets hit from the rear bumper, and all of a sudden you've got a huge stack up. Here's a look on board from Christopher Heights all the way back here in the 21 car. He's going to see the effects of this one last all the way to the end, sort of a domino effect, and it sends many cars around for a bit of trouble, and the caution comes out again.
If you ever wonder why there's a big checkup on the freeway when there's no accident, it's typically somebody cuts somebody off, somebody checks up, and it's just there infinitely. In NASCAR racing, it typically ends like what we just saw, Jesse. Explain that from behind the wheel. All it takes is one car to check up a little bit, and then it's worse for the next car, and worse, and worse, and eventually it leads to that.
It definitely does. And as a driver on any kind of restart, you always got to be cognizant of that. People can miss a shift. Somebody behind them can get underneath them, lift them up. All these different things can happen that can cause this checkup to bounce and ripple all the way back. I mean, it can literally ripple all the way back to the back of the field. You just got to be eyes up. You got to be paying attention. If you got a spotter, a real person spotting for you on here, then they can hopefully let you know so that you can make a move. And I know on iRacing, right, there's different rules. You're not supposed to pass underneath and this and that before you get to the start line, but you just got to keep your eyes up. And at the end of the day, you have to. And I've been in those situations where something happened up front, someone missed a shift, whatever. I've seen people miss a shift, get taken out, and flip over literally on a start. On a restart, I've watched a car flip over. It was absolutely crazy. All this stuff can happen. So every single start, every restart, you got to be eyes up. You can't just be looking at the car right in front of you. You got to look at least 5-6 cars down the line.
So if it checks things up, it will prolong how much time Braided Black has at the front of the field. I know it's a small sample size. I'm not going to draw any definitive conclusions on it, Kenneth, but it didn't look like a terrible start for Black. I mean, oftentimes, if we're talking 30, 40 lap old tires that somebody stays out, they're going to get a ton of wheel spin and just absolutely make a mess. Black got off pretty good. Lamore maybe a little bit dicey from that second row, maybe starting to not jump the start from the second lane, but Black was able to fire off pretty good. I don't think that necessarily means he's going to be able to stay up front and lead, but it didn't look all too dire for their chances.
Yeah, the real answer to the test, Evan, is turns 1 and 2. That's when you really understand the discrepancy of staying out on old tires. But if you're talking about an initial jump, Braden Black did it perfectly. Avoided much of the wheel spin, didn't check up all too much, let the field rally behind him, and then, of course, when everything checked up and the caution came out, he just picked up the pace car and no big deal. So you got to really think about that too if you're Black, about just being patient on the throttle, and for a lot of the other guys too, just thinking about how they can follow Black's footsteps in the right way. The good for the 26 gets to lead a couple more laps early, and that's kind of what you want if you stay out on older tires, is for the cautions to breed further yellow so that eventually you'll have a chance to come down pit road and you will have fresher tires than the rest of the field, and you won't have that much track position on your side, but you can gain that in a very small amount of time.
And it's kind of those three versus the world, because again, everybody else who came down agreed on strategy. I think with the exception of Andrew Schroeder, he took only 2 tires. That car started 24th. He is up to 13th. I will say, Jesse, for it being this early on in a race, I am surprised that we're seeing that many different calls.
Yeah, everybody's on their own strategy. I mean, people probably thought through it. Obviously, a lot of folks practice on this track using this car prior to this event, right? Even though some people might say, oh, yeah, I just kind of got on it. I don't know. I mean, we all have this at the tips of our hands. And every night, I know if I was getting ready for this, right, this race, every single night leading up, I would practice. So everybody's going to be on their own strategy. Everybody's going to be trying different things. They might know something that we don't. I don't know. But that's what makes it fun. Everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone's doing what they think is going to work so that they can win part of that $5,000 cash prize.
Want to take this chance as we get set to go back green to let you know that Notable Live, through its partnership with eBay, wants to bring you a one-of-a-kind experience with former Kansas City Chief and New Orleans Saint, Pro Football Hall of Famer, and our Grand Marshal from earlier tonight, Willie Rove. Join Willie for a private dinner, photo op, personalized autograph, and more in Shreveport, Louisiana on August 18th. You can find details at ebay.com by searching Willie Rove VIP and get more information. Pace car going to be back in this time. Let's see how Black fares once more from the control spot. Through the restart zone we go. Green flag back in the air. This time we're off and away.
And once more you saw Mark Lamore in the 09 checkup car sideways right in the middle of the field. A wonderful save by Sean Conklin, and somehow we are still green flag racing off of turn 2.
4 wide, 5 wide.
There, Jesse, that's a lot of cars fanned out, and when you get discombobulated like that, it's hard to keep track of who's who and who's where.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we were looking at literally 4 or 5 wide about to go into the corner, which gets crazy. But that's the cool thing about Iowa. It's not like a normal short track where there's like maybe 1 or 2 lanes. Here at Iowa, it's 3 lanes, and you could potentially go 4 wide into the corner. Now, will you all have the grip to be able to make it work? Who knows? But you can run all the way up next to the wall. You can run all the way down the bottom. You can run in the middle. You can run everywhere. It's a cool track where you can truly fan out and make a lot of things happen. You can make it very, very interesting once we get to the end of the race, especially if there's a late race caution and everybody's fighting for the win.
It took 2 laps, but Zach Novak has been able to go back to the race lead. So the fastest car from before the pit cycle is back out in front, but it's not all doom and gloom. Braden Black still P2. He's in a good spot. One of the other big names way back in traffic, Garrett Maines, but that's because under the last yellow, Kenneth, he came back to pit road.
And it was a 39.5-second pit stop, Evan. You could imagine that Maines probably picked up a bit of front-end damage from hitting the rear end of Mark Lamore on the last restart before the yellow. So Maines all the way back in 19th, having to scurry through the field and get through a bit of sketchiness, 3 wide there with Yakov Kirsanov and Jake Balmain, the 83 and the 13 going blow for blow, entering turn 1. So Maines on the back foot off the restart, but up a bit of spots early. We'll see how much more he can gain if we can get a long green flag run in.
There's a look off of the back of race leader Zach Novak. Braden Black doing a real good job hanging with him back a little bit further. The battle inside of the top 5 as Andrew Haneker has been slipping through the field. That's his number 11 Mountain Dew machine on the outside of the racetrack. Malik Gray, Chris Wetz, Michael Guest able to get on by. Hold that thought. Caution number 3 flies. John Anderson is around. He was midfield running 24th, and he's got some pretty significant damage to the right rear. Let's take a second look.
It was Mark Lamore there. Yeah, hip checked him off of turn 4, got sideways, and this is where it gets sketchy. You go through the grass, the car is mostly saved. Until then, it just hooks to the right, hard into the outside wall he goes.
Almost had it, and Jesse, there's a point in the race car when you can try to save it, and then there's also a point where you may just need to lock it down and kind of go damage limitation.
Yeah, I don't know if the smartest decision making was there on that one. Yeah, I mean, once you start going through the grass, you've lost it, right? That's it. You've lost control. That's it. At that point, just minimize the damage, right? You're gonna have to fight back. There will be cautions. Only 30-something laps into the race. We still got an additional 90 laps or so, less than 90 laps left in the race. It's still a long race to go. You start going into the grass like that, just save yourself, gather yourself up. Yeah, you're going to fall to the back of the pack, but it's all good. Just manage it. A caution will come at some point. Jump into the pits, fix whatever damage you have, which is going to be very, very minimal. It'll live to fight another day. You got to be patient, but there's no way in the world you're going to be able to fly through the grass and then get back on track, still control it, and get back in the fight, unless you are a pro driver.
Well, tell you what, when Garrett Maines pitted under the last yellow, he was a bit of an outlier. Kenneth, not this time. Almost a 50-50 split as half of the cars this time in for service, many of them down for the second time tonight.
And some of those include Mark Lamore in the 09, who was trudging around on older tires. So that must have been the call at lap 34 to say, hey, I'm tired of being on these older Goodyear Eagles. Let me switch to a pair of new ones and then be on my way. Garrett Maines, though, with a quick stop, 14 seconds. That was another 4-tire call for the 23 car. So he's going to be back around where he started on the last restart, around 21st. So again, he's going to be one of those drivers moving through the field. But the best part about it for Maines now, Evan, is that he's got 18-lap fresher tires. So it's going to be a much easier walk through the field. Just has to find the space to do so.
And this race is now never going to be the same, because now that half the field is off cycle, Jesse, we're going to have this constant push and pull, this tug of war between the leaders, which include big names like Novak, who's led 17 laps, or Braden Black, I think, has got pretty successfully assimilated himself into that group after staying out, because that car didn't look bad. The 26 held its own. That group's got Malik Gray, it's got Michael Guest and company. They're going to have the track position, but they will be at now a significant tire disadvantage to the drivers who just pitted. Andre Castro, Garrett Maines, Cody Nagels, and company, who are going to be restarting from 19th on back. It may happen, but I think these drivers are likely going to be off cycle with one another for the rest of this race. That's going to make this awfully exciting, trying to track who's got the upper hand at any given moment.
And you are exactly correct. That's what's going to make it exciting, because everybody's off cycle, right? You got half the field doing one thing, the other half the field doing another. And guess what? We still got a pretty long race left to go. I mean, just over 80 laps to go. People are still going to make different decisions. People are still going to be doing very interesting things and changing their strategy up depending on what the situation is, what they get caught up in, what they don't. So everybody being on different cycles is what makes this fun and what makes it interesting, right? Some people will be faster than others. Some people won't. Some people will be playing the patience game. It's all going to just make this very exciting to watch. I'm so curious to see how everything's going to turn out once we go back green.
Light's still on top of the pace car, so at least one more trip around gives us an opportunity for more looks throughout the field. There's an onboard peak with Yakov Kirsanov, the number 13 car right now, scored in 14th spot. That puts him towards the tail end of the cars on the, I'd call it the lead strategy. Again, there are only, I think, 2 cars who have yet to pit at all. That is Braided Black P2, and it is Andrew Hennigar, who sits in the number 6 spot. Everybody else has been in at least once, if not twice. But recapping those top cars on the cycle of those who came down pit road last time, Cody Nagels actually jumped out. He was a little bit skeptical of himself, Kenneth, but now all of a sudden he's running with Garrett Maines, with Andre Castro, some of the top cars. I think he may have played this strategy well to get himself into the conversation after that poor Q effort.
He did, and a lot of the help came from those yellows, the flurry of them that helped a lot of those drivers now get on this alternate call that you're seeing from 19th on back. So Cody Nagels, who probably would have struggled to move through the field from dead last if we had this race go green all the way, now has a bit more leverage on his side as we're ready for the green flag. Nagels back in 22nd.
And on the front row, it's going to be Zach Novak in control. In the air, it's a huge jump, and that 26 of black struggled topside. Malik Ray going to be through to P2, making Michael Guess now through to 3rd, as well as looking to the inside for the race lead. Here comes Malik Ray.
Malik wasted no time on this restart to get underneath Zach Novak. And remember, in that first run, he was that 3rd place car hanging behind Maines and Novak about a 1.5 seconds back. But this time, he's going to stay with Novak if whatever happens. And look who's back in 3rd, Michael Guess. So top 3 all Coke Series drivers, top talent here in the first 3 spots, looking for lap 40. Novak still has control though.
Wet sneaks through, he ends up 4th. Braided Black settles down P5. And we did say that the beauty of this series is anybody can show up, compete, try to qualify in, Jesse. But Kenneth made the point there. Those are 3 really big names at the top as we jump back and watch Garrett Maines and company slicing through the field on those fresh tires.
And yeah, they're definitely big names. I mean, they've been on iRacing for many, many years, competing at the highest level, jumping into a lot of big time competitions. They've got a lot of wins under their belt, high I rating. I mean, they're the real deal, but anything can happen. And we've seen multiple times in our series throughout the years, people who've never raced Coke Series, who aren't pros, and they get in here and they win. And now we got a caution. Let's see what happens.
Well, there's a couple of cars around. I saw that blue 2 car in the background, Christopher Reagan, but then all of a sudden, there's about another 4. Matthew Lee, one of them, Mark Lamore, DeAndre Kane. So this one really seemed to snowball after it started around Reagan, Kenneth.
Turned into a parking lot on the back straightaway, starting there with Reagan going sideways in 1 and 2, but it's going to begin with Matthew Lee, who gets hit by the 2 car going up the track in turn 2, then catches several other cars in the mix, including DeAndre Kane, and then all the others who end up there stopped on the back straightaway. So it really starts with Lee, goes up the track, just gets sideswiped a little bit, moves up the racetrack into the outside wall, and then as he careens back down the track, gathers the other cars that turn into maybe a 5-6 car incident on the back straightaway.
That looked like a Jenga tower as they came off of the turn. You just put one in the wrong spot and it makes a big mess. Look at this onboard view. Let's jump back and watch it all the way through the corner with Andrew Schroeder here. It's going to develop up the road. You'll see the contact and then the smoke right there on the exited 2, but then it collects more cars high, dodges one, skips past a bumper, but wait, there's more. He thought he was through it until they weren't done.
That's tough. That's tough. I mean, he was doing a pretty good job, but when everybody gets littered around the track like that, it's really tough, especially when you come to a short track like Iowa. Even though there is a decent amount of space, it becomes very, very small when everybody's spinning out and you don't know when it's going to stop.
So another yellow means more opportunities on the pit lane, and again, split decision. Maybe just shy of a dozen cars, Kenneth, in that time. I thought certainly we were going to see Novak, Ray, and Guest in because Maynes had been slicing through the field on the fresh tires. That 23 car all the way up to P7. Andre Castro, second driver on that strategy, all the way up to P9. So I thought certainly there would be a swift response from the leaders, but the upper brass of the drivers on the older tires stay out. Another 10 or so come in, and if 2 different strategies wasn't fun enough to track, now we've got 3.
It's a trifecta here at Iowa. Why not? But I imagine for Novak, Ray, Guest, among the 8 to 10 or so cars that are staying out this time by, I think in a way they're believing that there are going to be more yellows down the road, which will give them the opportunity to pit. I'm not sure if they're worried too much about Garrett Maynes on 10-lap old tires pushing through the field, because he absolutely was after starting in 19th on the restart. But for all of these drivers, they're seeing this race pan out the way that it has over the first 44 laps. Yellow, short run, then yellow thereafter. So I think they're going to play the strategy of let's wait until more yellows come out. Let's not push our tires all too much, since we really aren't doing that much on the green flag restarts and then getting a yellow right after. Let's wait to pit. We'll get fresher tires than Garrett Maynes, or we'll equalize with them at some point, and it won't be a big worry. Still a long way to go here at Iowa.
We went through, Jesse, those first 20 laps pretty quick on, I'm not going to say a long green flag run, but a bit of a healthy sprint. And then since then, to Kenneth's point, it's been a lot of stop, start, stop, start. I think that also does make it difficult for drivers to do 2 things. One is kind of get a grasp on the car and how it's going to shake out, how aggressive can you be early to not burn it up and be slow late, but also to kind of get a grasp on who's got the best strategy right now. It's easy for us to say, yeah, Garrett Maynes got the better tires. If we get 5-10 laps after the next green flag, he's certainly going to go to the race lead. That doesn't necessarily mean he's got the winning call still, because there's still over 75 laps to go.
That's the tough part, is to really guess it, right? You know, I mean, everybody so far, you know, I think the longest run we've had, the 15 or so laps or whatever, it's tough. It's tough to really gauge, to know, okay, where's everybody going to be at if we go longer than that? But that's the thing. Will we go longer than that? It is a short track. Everybody is fighting, right? It's tough. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, you know what? Don't worry about what everybody is doing. Worry about yourself. At the end of the day, when you're in these races right here, it's you against your car, against the track. It's not you against everybody else and what they're doing, their strategy. Just run your car, run against the track, beat the track that day, be better than your car that day, and just manage that and be smart and be patient. You do that, you're going to keep yourself up towards the front. And then at the very end, where you got, 10 laps to go, 5 laps to go, at that point, then worry yourself about everybody else and how you're going to get past the next person so you can go win.
We'll see what happens on this restart. Malik Ray took a big look to the inside of Novak last time, wasn't able to make it stick. This time, the 7's going to be to the outside for the restart. Michael Guest, Jason Maynes going to be on row 2, with Michael Sturgill, Hayden Swank, row 3. Then all eyes on Garrett Maynes. He's got the fresh tires from the inside of row 4. Green flag back in the air. It's a good start for the 5 car. Novak has got the lead, clear and free to turn 1.
You saw Michael Guest take a peek to the inside, and Malik Ray almost felt like the 42 car was going to go down low on Ray and make it side-by-side for second. But imagine that it would be a tougher battle up to Zach Novak if he had to get through Malik Ray side-by-side here at Iowa. So he hangs back in 3rd, single file for the first 5 to 6 cars, and there's Garrett Maynes back in 5th trying to cut through the field, and a bunch of other guys side-by-side through the mid-pack.
3 wide even there through the center of 1 and 2. You go on board with Andre Castro on the inside. Top side of him, big move. That's Michael Sturgill trying to clear, not able to do so. They're side by side in battle for, I think, 7th and 8th spot as they come through the corner. But the fresh tires for Garrett Maines has him all the way up to 3rd. Jason Maines watching on as Garrett's been able to make the move on him. And now the 12 looking for a pass in 3rd. Looked high, now to the inside, and gonna go side by side with Michael Guest.
And this is light work for Garrett Maines as Malik Ray looks down low. This is going to be for the lead on lap 51, down low on Novak, and this is going to help Maines in his pursuit for the top spot. Once again, Novak going to hang up high, Ray down low, and Maines looking inside for 3rd. Ray's going to back down, not anymore in turn 3. Maines up to 3rd place, and it will be a 3-way fight for the race lead back to turn 1.
Oh, it's getting exciting. I absolutely love how everybody is just sending it in there. Everybody wants to get up front. A little bit of patience maybe, but not so much, especially once you get up to the top 3. This is very, very fun to watch.
Garrett Maines.
Oh, we got somebody spinning.
Guest, 1 car down to the apron, gonna hang on. That almost got sloppy. They're gonna go 3 wide now.
Wow.
The 31 car back there in traffic, they're still not settled down.
Oh my goodness.
Way down to the flat of the apron on the front straightaway. It all started when Raul Alves was nearly in contact with, I think, the 19 of Jakob Semeda. He's able to hang on, another near miss avoided, and we race on, but Cody Nagels breaks a sweat because he was in the middle of all that.
They are not giving an inch at all. Everybody is fighting. They're like, you know what? Let's just send it. Let's just figure it out. Let's just send it. Let's see what this thing's got. Let's send it as much as we can until we don't have anything left.
Oh, and Nagels got hip checked again, entering turns 3 and 4. Well, he is all over the place. Yakov Kursanov got into him. Nagels is in the middle again. Now he's on the top side of 3 wide between Braden Black and the 26. Jakub Smetana, who went sideways off the exit of turn 2. So Nagels, after being on a fresh tire strategy, now in the middle of a hurricane here on the back straightaway, entering turn 3.
Nagels has got some more action going on as well as their 2-3 wide midfield. The leaders almost had a close call with the lap car Mark Lamore. Malik Ray was vocal on the radio. That's no new news, but the 7 car nearly got taken out, and now he's got his hands full with the 12 of Maines, who almost fenced it that time off at turn 2. Now he's going to look to the bottom. Malik Ray doing everything he can to make that 7 car Jesse as wide as possible.
That is the battle. That is the battle. But at the end of the day, you got to be patient. Just stay patient. I mean, even if the person behind you has a little bit more pace, you know what? It's okay. We still got a little while. Don't waste those tires. You never know what's going to happen next. Everybody's going on different tire cycles. People are doing different things. So if you can hold them off, great. But if you can't, just be smart, you know, and manage what you got.
Looking off at the back of the race leader, it's still Zach Novak. He's led 38, now 39 laps in this race as we are almost halfway through this ERA Omega Cup Summer Bowl at the Iowa Speedway. It's Novak 1, Ray 2, and Maines 3. Remember, Maines has about 17 lap better tires than the 2 cars in front of him. Same with Castro P5, Conklin P6. They have fresher tires, but that extra bite's gone away maybe just a little bit. Now Maines to the inside of the 7. Malik keeping it up top though. Kenneth gets that run off of the corner.
And running at Iowa, Evan, almost feels like running at Chicagoland. You run down low on the inside of a race car, and it almost becomes impossible to make that pass, because if that topside car can press the inside car down enough, it'll force that bottom car to use less throttle on corner exit, and they cannot get the momentum off the corner to complete the pass. So solid job by Malik Ray to stay in the middle lane, let Maines run down low, and just press him until that 23 car eventually had to back off. But on the other side, this is great for Maines. He's got a long enough green flag run to where if a yellow comes out, all of these guys will come out on pit road and be back on an even playing foot. And also, too, for Ray and Novak, they will have to pit eventually if a caution does not wave for the next half of this ERA Omega Cup race from Iowa. So Maines in a pretty spot right now. He just needs to find a way to get around Ray and Novak. That's why he's looking a little higher on the racetrack to snag away P2.
Malik's been able to play defense topside a couple of times in a row, Jesse, so you wonder if that's playing into the mind of Garrett Maines, and maybe he's thinking, all right, bottom's not working, maybe I need to go topside. There's plenty of other drivers as well trying to make some moves. How about Cody Harris back here, riding P12? He sees Hayden Swank get a little bit loose off of the corner, and they're 3 wide, middle of the back straightaway in front of him. That's Michael Sturgill, center of it all.
Because there's multiple grooves here at this track, you can manage your tire by running different lines, right? When you start going down low, you drive it all the way down there. You're using a lot of using a lot of wheel to stay down there. You're really wearing those tires down. And then once you move up one of the lanes, you move up a groove, all of a sudden you're not using as much wheel to get down there. You're not wasting as much tire. Now, you obviously don't have the fastest line by doing that, but some tracks you do. Then you can move up another lane, and once again, you're not wearing your tires as much, and maybe you can have a little bit better speed rolling. Once you start getting people right next to you, and let's say somebody's going for the pass, they dive underneath you. There's other short tracks where they dive underneath you, they got you. There's no way in the world you'll be able to roll the top and be able to keep speed enough to be able to pass them. But at a track like this, where it is a variably banked track, so when it's variable banked, what happens is the lowest part of the corner has the least amount of banking. The highest part of the corner has the most amount of banking. So you can actually roll with some good speed. If someone tries to pass you underneath, you can pinch them on exit. And when you're pinching them on exit and they're trying to get the grip and the drive off, they're going to be spinning their tires and using a lot of steering wheel so that they don't get into you, and that ends up wearing their tires down more. And it's just a strategy you can use to keep people slowed down who are trying to pass you.
A good look through the midfield at some of the other battles as we're past halfway home in this $4,000 to win Summer Bowl, but the action is still hot up front. Garrett Maines continuing to try to find a way around fellow eNASCAR driver Malik Ray. Novak still leading. Those top 3 have pulled away about 1.2 seconds to Michael Gaston back. Put him under a blanket right now as Malik Ray, he's not worried about defending for P2, Kenneth. He wants to attack for the race lead.
He's been doing that for the last several laps, but unfortunately it hasn't panned out. He's going to gun again here in turn 3 at the entry of the corner. He's going to try to get the most throttle at the exit, but unfortunately Novak has the run off of turn 4. Ray will have to try once more, and every single attempt, Evan, that this 7 car gets at the inside of Novak is every opportunity for Garrett Maines to take away second. Now, Maines hasn't done that quite yet, but Ray is in that Oreo sandwich middle where he has to play offense and defense at the same time. The look on board from Novak, he sees Ray, now he doesn't, but he will see him at the exit of the corner. Novak playing the Hall of Fame defense here, leading with 53 left.
Well, Zach Novak has done a lot of things in his sim racing career, Jesse, but he has not won an ERA Omega Cup race. So you know this 5 car has got some extra incentive to show up some of his fellow competitors that he's used to racing with.
He's definitely trying to get a win here. And I mean, he's a great driver. I mean, we've seen him do some great things in some other series, but getting a win here is special. It's like no other series out there. I mean, there's so much money on the line. This is its own very special event. How we run it. We don't run it just like everything else. We do it differently. And that's what makes it fun. Everybody can jump in. Everybody has a shot, but only 40 are actually going to get into the main event. He was good enough to get into the main event. Now he's fighting for this win, but we still got a ways to go, and anything can happen. There's so much battling happening up front. I think we're going to see a 4 wide pretty soon.
4 wide nearly as Christopher Reagan has arrived onto the scene. That is not for position, but that car's got fresher tires, and like it or not, he had an impact on the battle amongst the leaders, because as the 2 car went by on the bottom, Garrett Maines was able to make the pass on Malik Ray for P2, and that 7 really struggled. Remember, his tires now over 50 laps old, so back up into second. Can he get all the way back to the very top spot?
And with all of that aggression, trying to get by Novak and then trying to stay ahead of Garrett Maines, it might have seemed that Ray has eclipsed the cliff on his Goodyear Eagles, and it has fallen him back, and that sort of reeled in Michael Guest, who might be able to take away 3rd. You saw the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd wiggle in turns 3 and 4 from Malik Ray up high as he was getting around with Garrett Maines, and Maines was able to take away 2nd. Never mind all of that on the strategy, because the caution flag comes out. This changes everything, and Evan, we might have the field back on one specific strategy under 50 to go.
Yeah, I think this is going to bunch them all back up. You're looking at the 47 of Andrew Schroeder, was running in 27th spot. Let's take a look back and see what happened for the driver out of Illinois. And just lost it the one time, and he's chasing, and it goes around Jesse. That's the second car we've seen tonight, at least, with a self-spin that started right at that same spot in turn 2.
Yep, and there's a reason why. So, contrary to popular belief, not everyone, but people who aren't diehard fans, who don't understand how these tracks work, everybody thinks that all the corners are the same, and they're not. When you go into 1 and exit at 2, it's completely different than going into 3 and coming out of 4. When you go into 3 and you're coming out of 4, you can see that this track is a D, which means when you're coming out of the exit of 4, you have so much more room because of the curvature of the track. When you're exiting from 2, it's a straight line. There is no curvature, so you have to use a little bit more steering wheel. And what's happening is people are using a little bit too much wheel. It gets them a little bit too loose. They try to overcorrect. When they overcorrect, it straightens them up or turns them towards the wall, and next you know they go spinning, they overcorrect again, and then it's just bad things happening. You're in the wall. That's what's happening. That's what we're seeing. But it takes a lot of experience to understand what's going to happen and how the car's going to snap and how you got to react.
And Kenneth, to your prediction, it's almost unanimous. Everybody but one car going to come down to pit road. So the 3 different cycles mold into 1. Is it going to be 4 throughout? No. First off of pit road is Malik Ray, who is noticeably the one struggling the most on tires. He goes for only 2. Novak leads everybody else off, who goes for 4.
What a stop by Malik Ray, a bit under 10 seconds, so you're right. Only 2 tires on the 7 Chevrolet Camaro this time by. That's almost a call that Malik Ray had in mind the entire time, just based on how it all fared in that last run. Beautiful job by Ray, but the question is, how long can he hang on to those 2 tires? It's a worthy call for track position, but is it enough to hold on in front of Maines and Novak, and then with an old tire car right in front of him?
So we'll take this quick opportunity to step aside. We'll stay side by side throughout, but for the moment, it's Andrew Hanniger who has stayed out. He's leading the Summer Bowl at Iowa.
Notable Live is your fast track to one-of-a-kind experiences with your favorite athletes, like race day with Emmitt Smith and Jesse Awuji, game day with Eddie George, or fishing with Ray Lewis.
And we got a party going on over here.
So, rev up your fan experience with Notable Live, your direct connection to the athletes you love and the memories and memorabilia you crave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Check out our latest events and auctions at notable.live.
Steve, you have grown up around NASCAR your entire life. Have you ever felt an aura or seen a backdrop like what we're seeing here?
Rick, I can't believe this is real. It is so real. We are standing inside a world-class 12-turn road course that's set up in the middle of Chicago.
You know, we talk about that each weekend in NASCAR racing is an event. Now, this is going to another level.
Yeah, I agree. It's a significant event. You just look at all the people wandering through, all the different faces. Everyone's coming to see what's going on with this spectacle called NASCAR. A lot of these folks have never even seen a NASCAR race, and that is great to have all these new eyeballs on our sport. So excited to be here. This is a great opportunity for our sport.
The cars about ready to fire the engines for the first time ever in NASCAR's history. 75 years of racing, and this has never happened. They're about to race on a street course.
And if you feel the anxiety, so don't the competitors, right? The street course was enough, but as a former crew chief, this was always the most pressure-packed time I can't imagine.
All smiles now on the faces as everyone here in Chicago knows what is about to happen.
Drivers, start your engine! Let's go!
NASCAR is racing in the streets of Chicago. Down the front stretch they come for the first time.
Green flag back in the air at Iowa, and a change for the lead. Malik Ray takes the top spot. He was able to get around Hanniger, who had stayed out on the older tires, beat Novak to the punch, and now it's the 28 Ray leading this race. But Novak remains hot on his heels, not going to want to let him go, coming to 41 laps remaining.
And another caution comes out. We saw a lot of chaos on the restart when Andre Castro had his wheel disconnect. He got stuck in second gear, and all of a sudden it's the old tire car that stayed out when we dropped the most recent green flag. Andrew Hennigar in trouble. Caution out again, lap 80.
We saw some drivers earlier in this race be able to stay out, make the older tires work, but Jesse Hennigar was on about 50 lap older tires, was sinking like they had dropped an anchor off that car, and unfortunately he just spun out right in front of some other traffic.
Yeah, I'm not fully sure what the philosophy was behind it. When you have an opportunity to get new tires, you got to go get them. I mean, we had 40 now to go, and we clearly see that these tires can last for a little bit, but you don't want to push it. I mean, if you're going 30, 40, 50 lap old tires against people who are all on new tires, you aren't going to be able to compete against them, especially against good drivers. Now, I think in any normal iRacing, race that you do just on your weekly stuff, I mean, yeah, maybe you can make it work there. But when you jump into the eRA Omega Cup Series Summer Bowl, everybody's good. You can't take those chances.
Well, it was a consequential restart nonetheless because your new race leader is Malik Ray. We'll take another quick opportunity to step aside, go side by side again. Now Malik Ray in control of the field.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself.
Yeah, you can beat 100 men like scores 100 cans just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, them seeds to win the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 pence. Yeah, what I supply is always in the man. The throne is my tank, and then a high five got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know put a fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they've been next to me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling? I showed them the jig is up again. When I asked them who is the best, they get this to stuttering. Tell them
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself.
I can't lose, I won't lose. I can't lose, I won't lose. You may wanna save yourself. I think it's best you run away. I won't let you finish. Make it to the top with the same ones I came with. I shoot my shot, you better know that I'ma never miss. When they coming for me, yeah, I'm gonna tell them this.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. I'ma keep
And back live at iRacing's virtual Iowa Speedway as we continue to close in on the end of this eRacing Association Omega Cup Summer Bowl live on Podium. And happy that you're with us as we welcome you back inside of the Podium booth. Myself, Evan Pasoko, NASCAR driver Jesse Wuji, Kenneth Bueno with you, along with our producer downstairs, Ryan Bauer. And Jesse, it's been a night of many things. It started with a lot of strategy, a lot of quick yellows in the opening, I'd say quarter or so, split some of the fastest cars up onto 3 different strategies, but a long run through the midway has meant that we're all back on the same call with a straight shot. Going to be 35 to go when we go back green.
35 to go, but I'm sure we're not done seeing some wrecks. Some things will happen. Now, could it be clean in this first part? Probably, but I promise you one thing, after seeing everything that we've seen over the last 80 or so laps, these folks are going to get aggressive. Nobody is laying off. Everybody is saying that, hey, I can handle, at least the really, really solid drivers are saying that, hey, I can handle this car. After 5 laps, 10 laps, 15, 20 laps, I can handle it. I can send it in there. I feel confident with it. So I think we're going to see a lot of crisscrossing going on here once we go green.
Malik Ray was able to take the lead on the last restart. He is the control car. Novak to the outside, P2. Don't forget about Barrett Maines. He's on the inside of row number 2 in 3rd. Green flag back in the air. It's a stellar restart for the 7. And here comes Maines quickly to the inside of Novak, trying to take away P2.
It shows you just how good you can be if you're that control car on the inside. You can throw everybody off on your outside lane and just heave away at it. Garrett Maines with a fantastic jump is able to move underneath Novak. We're 3 wide. Sean Conklin moving underneath. He's looking for a spot inside the top 5. Novak a bit loose. We're door to door for second, and all smiles from Malik Ray Evan. He is pulled out to at least 0.3 of a second.
And Malik, Jesse, I think, loves to see the battle going on for second. I thought Maines had it. Novak got such a big run topside. Now the 5 is clear for a moment in second.
Yeah, this battle is getting crazy. It is getting wild. Everybody's staying in there. The pack is staying together. I mean, anybody can make a run for it right now. I mean, it's not just the leader who's up there. He's not just running away from everybody. I mean, I'm looking at the top 5, maybe even the top 6, all have an opportunity to make their way up forward. We'll see what happens right here.
3 wide again, 45 of Michael Guest. He's been in the conversation tonight, but a little bit quiet. Not going to end up 3 wide. Novak clears it all. Now it's a battle for 3rd. Guest on the outside, Maines on the bottom, and Garrett Maines, who I thought would be the big person to look for in all of this, ends up sliding to P4. He's got some work to do, determined to get back on it, as he does not want to allow those other drivers in front of him to pull away. Malik, I think, enjoyed the fact, Kenneth, that there was a bit of a scrap behind him for P2, let him get a little bit of breathing room, but any of that gap that he had built has been evaporated because Zach Novak now within half a car length.
Yeah, Novak is on the hunt of Malik Ray. He's been one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. If you're not looking at Garrett Maines, but you see this, Ray looking up high to give Novak a bit of the dirty air, but no match for Novak's run out of turn 4. He'll peek his Chevrolet Camaro nose inside on turn 1. Side by side for the lead. Novak's got it, slides up the track. Ray still there on the outside.
Malik Ray using the top side, though, going to have the benefit of a bit of a, run as he comes through off of the corner and using the progressive banking to his advantage. Michael Guest, with the best seat in the house, watches on from 3rd, hoping that this battle amongst the race leaders can allow his 42 machine to get a little bit closer. And this is what we expect. Novak better on the entry through the center of the corner, but top side still the better defensive line. And Malik Ray able to shake off, Jesse, another challenge.
This is so cool to watch. I mean, these cars are getting a little bit loose now, too, because they're being so aggressive. And I'm just curious to see how much this is wearing out their tires. Almost a little bit of a bump and run right there, getting close. I think they're going to want to start getting, they're going to start getting a bit more aggressive, not just trying to figure out a way to dive bomb each other, but now they're probably going to get physical. This is a track you can get a little bit physical and get away with it.
It's worth noting, saw a big slide from Malik Ray last lap. This is impressive, Kenneth, because not only was Malik struggling earlier, he's only on 2 tires, but a caution will slow down the battle once more. Cody Harris is slow at the start-finish line. The 38 car was running in the mid-teens. The lap prior to this, let's see what happened to him to turn 3.
It looked like Brandon Barrier gave him a touch into turn 3. It sent Harris sideways. He did a beautiful job to save it at first, but all of a sudden it unravels from his fingertips at the very last second. It almost seemed like it bobbled quickly, and then the 39 car, the 38 rather, could not hold on to it much longer. Slight touch of the outside wall. Here's a look on board from Barrier. You'll see that slight touch entering the third corner is what sends Harris around for the slide.
And Harris is going to do everything he can to save it, Jesse. There's the touch. He gets sideways right here. Thought maybe he had it, and then when he tried to get it going again, the car snapped sideways, and what did he do? He knew that it was lost, and you saw it there. He locked it up, stayed high, and it led to a yellow. If he tried to keep driving that thing, he would have likely come across the nose of the barrier, caused another incident. So I know it doesn't pay much for Cody Harris. He's going to lose a bunch of spots because of the spin, but that was good, safe driving from that guy to lock it down once he realized it was gone.
Yeah, that was a really, really good job saving it right there. I mean, keeping it from ending a lot of people's days, because a lot of folks sometimes they start giving up. They go into a slide, they give up, they don't care anymore, and they take out a whole bunch of other people. Whereas he was being smart. He's like, hey, if I just stay with this thing, if I work with it, maybe I can keep it from one, completely just totaling, but two, I can keep from, ending everybody else's day. So actually, that was a really, really good job by Harris there.
More action to meanwhile on to pit road. The top 7 cars will stay out. Kenneth and Garrett Maines, who's been a frequent flyer onto pit road, was back in on this latest cycle. He'll be the 2nd car off of pit road. Yakov Kirsanov will go for 2. He'll be the 1st car out on fresh tires, 8th on the track, and then G Maines going to end up 9th. I like this call. Not a ton of track position given up, and he is certainly going to have the upper hand on the tires for a 20-lap sprint to the end.
And it's a bigger gain this time than the last time we talked about tire differences between Maines and everyone else in the field. It was about 18, 17 laps at first. This time it's 22, so it is much higher of a gap between the top 7 cars and then Garrett Maines, who falls back to P9. They better start giving Maines a bit of benefits here. He's a frequent customer to pit lane. He's been on there for tires and everything around the clock. Maines has always been on pit road for almost every single yellow, so it is not necessarily a bad call at all. It's just about whether Ray and Novak feel there are going to be more yellows down the road, or maybe they didn't put enough laps on their tires. But I'd imagine with how hard Novak and Ray had been pushing on the last restart, fighting for the race lead, their tires might be a little cooked in sense. They may have to hope for some more yellows to equalize them on pace.
And that point that Kenneth brings up, Jesse, is a big one, because you got Malik Ray, you got Zach Novak up front. They've been down pit road twice tonight. You compare that to Garrett Maines, who's been very much an equal to them on speed. He's been down pit road 5 times tonight, more than double that they have. So there are some races where the strategy is pretty black and white, and there is a right call and a wrong call. That has not been the case tonight. And I think it's worth noting for those who may not always watch big races like this, iRacing does have an automated spotter. It'll tell you when there's a car inside and outside, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of the guys you're looking at there on screen now in big races like this not only have somebody in the sim spotting for them, but it may actually have somebody else crew chiefing for them, helping them through these strategy decisions, or at least giving them context on what the other drivers are doing to help them make an educated guess. That crew chief driver relationship is just as important here on the service as it is in real life.
And that's absolutely correct. Yeah, some of these drivers, they have real life people who are doing the spotting, and some of them have real life people who are doing the crew chiefing. Some of them might even have multiple people who are crew chiefing from and giving them data and information. So that's how it works. I mean, that's how competitive the server is now. That's how competitive people are on iRacing. I mean, they're bringing in teams of people so that they can maximize their chances of getting the win. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line. I mean, if I had a chance to go win $4,000 and you felt like you had a really, really good shot, why not bring in a few people to help? Be like, hey, I'll break you off a few bucks, if you help me win this race. And most people will be like, sure, yeah, I don't mind getting a few $100s just to go help you out in a race. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing that we're seeing this happen virtually. It's something that we only used to see happen in the real world, but now, thankfully, because of having things like iRacing and all these other great sims out there, people are having the opportunity to win money, and they're bringing in their buddies, their friends, and people who have an understanding of racing so they can help themselves, give themselves the opportunity to win some big money.
Well, Malik Ray and Zach Novak on the front row, still in search of their first wins in the Omega Cup. Green flag back in the air, 21 laps to go at Iowa. Good restart for the 7 car. He's got the race lead down to turn 1. Guest drives up the inside of the 5 and Novak. They'll be side by side for P2. Novak's got the run off of the corner and a nose in front for a moment.
But look who might be a spoiler here late, Evan. Sean Conklin in the 54. He's been hanging around the top 5 for the last several restarts. He started back in 8th, has been up and down throughout the field, but this Ryko Ford Mustang is picking up the pace late. He's starting to work on Michael Guest now, so don't look at this moment, but Sean Conklin might be a driver we'll look at late. Caution is out again. Squabbles near the back. Cody Nagels with big time damage on the back straightaway, and DeAndre Kane out for a big spill.
And Nagels goes around, I think Andrew Schroeder apologizing for the contact, so I don't think it takes any kind of crystal ball to figure out that those two likely came together. But then you mentioned DeAndre Kane also involved, so we'll rewind the tape back to see what happened. That's off at turn 2. You saw the 6 spinning, and that is how Kane gets involved. A late hit for the 90 goes to show how long a lot of these wrecks go on, but that was the shot, Jesse, into 1 as 47 went in deep, got the 6 car, and it was a slow-mo spin almost for Nagels, who caught it once, and then he got finished off by the same car.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially when we come down to these last final laps right here. Everybody's going to be more aggressive. Everyone's going to drive harder in. Sometimes you get into people when you do that, but you just kind of be smart. You got to understand. You got to look at the momentum. You got to see where everybody is moving. Like, how fast are people going into the corner? Are the competition around me? What kind of brakes are they using going in? What's the speeds that they're taking through the corner? All these different things you got to take into account when you're entering the corner. You're not just thinking for yourself when you enter a corner around other people. You got to think for everybody else. And if you're not judging everybody and judging their speed and judging what they're doing, you're going to have miscalculated entries, middle of the corner, and also exits, and that can hurt you, and it can also cause you to get into other folks, which can cause wrecks.
So we slow things down again, Kenneth. I'll put you on the spot. I said I like the strategy call for the likes of Maines and company. They didn't really get much off of that restart. In fact, Hayden Swank was able to leapfrog Maines, so Maines stays 9th. Swank moves up to P8. I'm going to think that this yellow hurts those drivers on the fresh tires because they likely want green flag laps to be able to utilize the fresh rubber. This yellow takes 5 out of the 20 laps they had to work with out of the equation.
You're right. You're using borrowed time if you're guys like Garrett Maines and all those others on fresh tires. And we were talking about it under break, the fact that as soon as we got our midway long green flag run, we were already halfway. In a blink of an eye, we logged down so many laps here in Newton, Iowa. So for Maines and company, each yellow they see is going to be a big pitfall because that means they have to turn up the aggression, thus turn up the desperation, and that's when you have contact. That's when you have more yellows, and that's what easily can push a race like this into overtime.
See all the drivers waiting intently. A lot of them chatting with their teams. You see Garrett Maines right middle of your screen, kind of sawed back and forth, try to clean the tires off. Maines is going to have to be an aggressor. He's going to have to push if he wants to get up and into this. There's kind of 2 different battles. It's the battle on the old tires. Malik, Zach, and Michael, 1, 2, and 3. Conklin a part of the conversation as well. He joins in 4th after he's been sneaky fast tonight. And then there's the second one of, can somebody on the fresher tires catch up? A majority of the field has pitted on either this most recent yellow or the one prior. There's only 7 total cars who have stayed out, Jesse. Those 7 just happened to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then also Cusack back at 11. So they're very much in the minority. The yellows are helping the Malik Rays of the world burn time so that they don't have to see these tires fade away.
I mean, just judging off of the speeds that they're running, judging off of their skill level, I think they'll be all right. Even though they're on older tires, I think they'll be all right. We were seeing earlier, even once, we went 10, 15, 20 laps in, they were still just, it still has really, really great pace on this track. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, the folks behind them are going to be charging like bulls. We'll see what happens. We might see some 4 or 5 wides.
Let's see if the lights go out on top of the pace car. This time they do. So we will have 13 laps to go in this race the next time through. In fact, 14 laps to go the next time by. I'm going to also agree with Jesse's synopsis from earlier on, Kenneth, that we're likely not done with the yellows either. Maybe that factored into the decision for Malik and company to not go for the fresh tires, because they know you get to the end of any race, let alone an open field big money race like this, there is going to be, if you get one yellow, probably a couple. We always say it, cautions breed cautions. I think that played into their decision as well.
Well, Evan, if you have to ask the question of, is this going to be our final yellow? There are going to be more yellows. Case in point.
And we'll see if that turns out to be the case. Could it be for the final time with 14 laps to go? Malik Ray, Zach Novak on the front row. It's Guest and Conklin on row 2. Green flag flies, and the outside with a terrible start. Novak caught sleeping. Guest to P2. Contact in a battle for third. That's Novak and Alvis getting together.
That's going to be tough for Novak here because Davis is going to give it all that he's got at the entry to turns 3 and 4. This is a race high for Alvis in that 39 car after starting in 21st place. And even worse than, he might be able to clear Novak at the exit of turn 4. 3 wide with Garrett Maines on the inside back to turn 1. Remember, that's the fresh tire car by 22 laps. Guest in front barely. We're still 3 wide at the exit of turn 2 in the battle for P6.
Hayden Swank, somebody else to watch out for as well. Jesse, that's his car to the outside of the 3 wide behind the leaders. They know they have to be aggressive if they want to catch these leaders. So
they're getting aggressive. Oh, this is so fun to watch. I mean, these drivers are really driving in. They're handling these cars, but they've had all race to figure out what this car is going to feel like, whether it's 10 laps in, 15, 20, 5 laps in. They all know what their vehicle is going to feel like, so they're all maximizing it to the best of their ability. Some people running high, low, mid, ultra high, you name it.
There's an onboard look with Zach Novak. Kenneth, he had a poor restart, falls all the way down to P4. That's going to be a really tall mountain to climb coming to 10 laps to go.
Talk about borrowed time for guys like Garrett Maines. Well, now there's borrowed time for Zach Novak. All of a sudden, you get a guy like Raul Avis in front, and it loses the amount of advantage that Novak has to get around both Guest and Malik Ray. So we might be talking about Novak having to play defense on Maines before he plays offense, but the caution comes out once again. Car in trouble. It appears to be Andrew Schroeder, who is disconnected, and that is the yellow once more with 10 to go.
And just as the cars on fresh tires, Maines had entered the top 5. They felt like they were building some momentum. It falls apart, and again, sounds like it may have been Schroeder, the car who went around, was running in a good spot, 13th, coming to the start-finish line at a battle with Cody Harris, and we'll see as they battle all the way around the racetrack. It's going to happen the next time by. This is just 2 cars fighting aggressively late in a race, and we've seen loose conditions, Jesse, and we'll see it as they come into turns 3 and 4. I think Schroeder just pushes it a bit too hard, loses it on his own.
Yeah. I mean, loose conditions will happen. I mean, some of these folks are running on a little bit older tires. I don't think anybody's running on ultra old tires, but as they're pushing, it is wearing the tires down even more. Everyone is driving a car deeper into the corner. Everybody is getting on the throttle a car sooner out of the corner. All this is adding towards more wear, and unfortunately for some of the drivers, the car, feeling more loose. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially once we have these last few laps, because now people have to drive even deeper in the corner, carry more speed, and get on the throttle even sooner.
And again, a big chunk of laps eliminated, and with it now being this late in the race, Kenneth, everybody's pretty locked in to the decision that they made. There are no takers from towards the front of the field that time on pit road. A couple of drivers from the midfield going to be in, a lot of them, though, I think, forced down for repairs.
Yeah, at this point, if you want to make a call down pit road, if you're anyone in the top 15 or so, it is going to virtually eliminate your chances at a race win. The drop-off in track position is going to be too large to overcome in maybe 5 or less laps, and we could end up in overtime, give or take, depending on how many yellows we end up having from here until then. So at this point, it's not worth it to come down pit road. If you're a guy like Malik Ray, even if you've got 2 tires and you're hanging on for dear life, you're going to hang on into that thread until that checkered flag comes out, whether you're the winner or whether you're finishing wherever in the rest of the field. So at this point, sit in the bed. You've made it. It's time to lay in it. Run as fast as you can, run as hard as you can, and try to get this one to the finish.
It's also easy to say, you know, hey, there's been a yellow flag. Let's try to get some green flag laps in, Jesse. But there is nobody on that screen there who is in any mood to just volunteer some track position or cut another guy on that screen a break late in this race. The yellows breeding yellows is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy because, well, you get a yellow, it runs us out of time, therefore people are going to be even more aggressive and likely lead to a yellow. That is the nature of, I would say, NASCAR racing, maybe in a broader scale, but certainly racing at tracks like this that are under a mile.
It's something that definitely happens at these short tracks, and at the end of the day, everybody at the end of this race now will be risking it for the biscuit. So everyone's going to risk it for the biscuit. They're going to throw it all out there. They're going to send it. This is a track that is somewhat forgiving for, especially at least on the first couple laps of your run, throwing it in there. We'll just see how it affects them the couple laps after that.
And the lights on top of the pace car stay on, so again, even more precious laps gonna tick away. Longest sprint we will have now at this rate, if the lights go out the next time by, would be a 4-lap run to the end. This is therefore, Kenneth, essentially our only opportunity to finish this race inside of regulation. They'd have to be able to get all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. If we don't, then we'll head to ERA overtime, and I guess we can talk more specifics on that if it presents itself, but this is our only shot at finishing this inside of our scheduled distance of 120 laps.
And that means the aggression is only going to turn up, and it does so even further when you add overtime into the mix. But I'd imagine a lot of these drivers want to finish this race under green. They do not want to hang around here any longer. They just want to finish this one and go at it for the cash prize. And I'd imagine Malik Ray wants this race done faster than anyone else in the field. He's on 2 tires. He has to turn up the clutch gene because lights are off on the iRacing official pace car. This time, 4 to go restart. He's been hanging on until now, and this is the moment where he has to shine.
Malik Ray has led 38 laps tonight. Michael Guest, who lines up alongside him on the front row, has led none. And how about Raul Alves inside of row number 2 and 3rd? That orange and white 31 car. He hasn't led a lap tonight. Started 21st in this race. He's gained 17 spots. That's the 4th most out of anybody in the field. He is in the conversation to his outside, the driver who has led the most laps tonight. That is the 5 of Zach Novak. Garrett Mays, first car, 4 fresh tires, going to be on the inside of row number 3 and 5th. Who's got what it takes to take home the win? Pace car clears. Green flag in the air. It's a great start from Malik Ray. Here comes Alves to P2.
This is the best place we've seen Alves in all night long, and he's going to do a great job to play defense. He's hanging in the middle in 1 and 2. This is great news for Malik Ray. His mains goes to the inside for 2nd place. Ray looking at 3 laps to go next time by.
It was a good jump for Alves. Oh, big pop. Yes, gets tagged. He's sideways into the outside wall. Caution comes out. This race will not end, and we're still crashing. Under the yellow, Raul Alves just got turned from P2. And drama amongst the leaders after the yellow flag was out.
Wow, that's a bit weird.
Let's wind it back. Everybody was out of control, but there was the help. It was not on his own, in which Michael Guest went around. The yellow flag was out, and then right here, the 3 wide trying to check up Kenneth, and the 31 gets turned.
Oh no, just the lack of space there as they're running 3 wide. They converge together, and the reason you see Raul Alves disconnect immediately as he's spinning in 1 and 2 is because he hits the DQ limit of 17x in this server. If you go up to 17 incident points, you are automatically disqualified from the race. Avis hit 17 as soon as Main spun him around, and he had that loss of control 2x incident point given to him. Alvis, unfortunately, out of this race.
So in the blink of an eye, Alvis gone, Guest gone, and look at the opportunity that this presents for the likes of Swank, Conklin, and Kirsanov. They're all of a sudden in the top 6, Jesse, but I don't know if we have to even look that far back to find the challengers, because Garrett Maines, with 22 lap better tires, is on the front row. I do think the one thing working against him is the spot he will line up. That inside has been money the last 3, maybe 4 restarts in a row, because Malik gets to decide when this race starts. He's gonna launch off and take the race lead right when the green flag drops. Zach Novak behind him, likely in a better position to see when the 7 goes and follow him. So Maines, if he gets a good start and can stay P2, can focus on Malik. But if the last couple of restarts are any indication, he'll likely be having to deal with Novak. And even if that takes a corner, maybe 2 corners, any little bit that holds him up is going to benefit that 7 of Malik Ray.
Yeah, this is going to get really interesting here with these guys. It's all about figuring out, okay, the folks next to me now, because prior to this, right, everybody's worrying about worry about your car, worry about your tires, worry about the track that you're going against. Cool. Now it's like, okay, with everybody around you, what have they been doing? What are they going to potentially do? You kind of got to preemptively strike. You're going to have to get really aggressive. You're going to have to block a little bit. You're going to have to try a few things just to keep others from getting runs, because everybody's tires do have some wear on it. So it's all about how do you defend, how do you keep people's momentum down so that they don't get good runs on you. All these things are going to help, because this track, with the way it's wearing down the tires and wearing out the drivers, use it to your advantage.
You can see they're all shaking off the tires, trying to keep some heat, keep some temperature in them. I did say, Kenneth, we didn't need to dive too deep into it until we got to this point, but here we are. So let's talk ERA overtime. We will have an attempt at a green-white checker finish. We will do this as many as 3 times.
Yeah, there will be only 3 opportunities to get this race done under green flag circumstances. And what's great about overtime is that obviously you have multiple attempts to get this race finished, but also too, once that white flag is displayed, it's fair game across the board. No matter what happens on the racetrack, whether the leaders crash, whether the back of the pack crashes, no matter exactly what goes down, the race is going to finish no matter what. So if you're a guy like Malik Ray, Maines, Novak, Swank, Conklin, all of these guys, you're going to hope for that yellow flag, or the white flag rather, to come out so that no caution flags can indicate the end of the run and another attempt at a green-white checkered. So it's all about looking for that checkered, looking for the white, and I'm assuming Malik Ray wants either as many attempts as possible or just this one, just to make sure that Maines does not get around him.
The benefit of virtual racing, Jesse, is that if there is an accident after the white flag, there is no safety concern to throw a yellow. So if we get the white flag, who knows what happens?
Yeah, we'll see. If I could bet on this right now, I would think that we are going to be able to get it done this time around. I think. We'll see.
Some gambling words. We'll see how this one ends. It is attempt number 1 of 3 at ERA overtime. Malik Ray, front row control car to his outside. Garrett Maines on fresh tires. Novak and Swank behind on row number 2. Green flag in the air. It's another good start for Malik, but not a good enough start for the 5 of Novak. Maines defends P2. Now he sets his sights on the leader.
Maines shut the door on Novak, wanted to make sure that the 5 car did not get any sort of advantage, because as soon as you go side by side in 1 and 2, that might be deal over. They walk through 3 and 4. Ray using the high side to deal some dirty air to the traffic behind out of turn 4. White flag, and this race will be official no matter what.
And Garrett Maines, Jesse, gave it too much. He caught the fence. Here's Novak for P2.
Oh man, I saw him catch the fence there just a little bit too much. I don't know why he did that, but maybe he didn't have enough tire. Maybe he thought he had grip and it just wasn't there. But Malik Ray is sending it through.
Final turn, no challenge from behind. Maine stays ahead of Novak, but checkered flag. Malik Ray, your race winner at Iowa Speedway.
Hey, I was right. I told you they'd get it done on this time around.
I was skeptical, but you were right, and Malik Ray, for the first time, is a race winner in the ERA Omega Cup, joins the names of many other eNASCAR top-level talents who have won these big money races, and it has been a big money year for Malik. Got a first career win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series a few months back, and now a first win here, and you can hear him in the driver radio chatter. Malik is going crazy celebrating his win in the Summer Bowl. This is a guy who puts his everything out there, Kenneth, wears his heart on his sleeve, and I can only imagine what Twitch chat's like for Malik.
They are probably a bunch of W's, a bunch of let's goes, maybe a bunch of tier subs, who knows what. But for Malik Ray, this is a huge win for him. He becomes another Coke Series driver to get a win. He gets $4,000 added to his bank account. And like you said, one of those drivers that is not afraid to show his elation, frustration, and everything else in between. I'm sure Malik is buzzing about this win tonight from Iowa.
It is certainly one of the biggest paydays he'll have on the sim this year as Malik Ray takes home the checkered flag, winning tonight's Omega Cup Summer Bowl at Iowa. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we'll hand out the virtual checks and talk with your race winner. Again, Malik Ray victorious at Iowa. The ERA post-race show is coming up next.
Steve, you have grown up around NASCAR your entire life. Have you ever felt an aura or seen a backdrop like what we're seeing here?
Rick, I can't believe this is real. It is so real. We are standing inside a world-class 12-turn road course that's set up in the middle of Chicago.
You know, we talk about that each weekend in NASCAR racing is an event. Now, this is going to another level.
Yeah, I agree. It's a significant event. You just look at all the people wandering through, all the different faces. Everyone's coming to see what's going on with this spectacle called NASCAR. A lot of these folks have never even seen a NASCAR race, and that is great to have all these new eyeballs on our sport. So excited to be here. This is a great opportunity for our sport.
The cars about ready to fire the engines for the first time ever in NASCAR's history. 75 years of racing, and this has never happened. They're about to race on a street course.
And if you feel the anxiety, so don't the competitors, right? The street course was enough, but as a former crew chief, this was always the most pressure-packed time I can't imagine.
All smiles now on the faces as everyone here in Chicago knows what is about to happen.
Drivers, start your engines! Let's go!
NASCAR is racing in the streets of Chicago. Down the front stretch they come for the first time.
Notable Live is your fast track to one-of-a-kind experiences with your favorite athletes, like race day with Emmitt Smith and Jesse Iwuji, game day with Eddie George, or fishing with Ray Lewis.
And we got a party going on over here.
So, rev up your fan experience with Notable Live, your direct connection to the athletes you love and the memories and memorabilia you crave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Check out our latest events and auctions at notable.live.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself.
Yeah, we gon' need 100 men, like scores, 100 cans, just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, them seeds doing the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 pence. Yeah, what I supply is always in demand. The throne is mine, take that. And then a high five got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know put a fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they've been next to me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling? I showed them the jig is up again. When I asked them who was the best, they get this to stuttering. Tell them
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself.
I can't lose, I won't lose. I can't lose, I won't lose. You may wanna save yourself. I think it's best you run away. I won't let you finish. Make it to the top with the same ones I came with. I shoot my shot, you better know that I'ma never miss. When they coming for me, yeah, I'm gonna tell them this.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. I'ma keep. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. That's right.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Iowa Speedway, where the dust has settled and Malik Ray has ended up on top and is your race winner in tonight's ERA Omega Cup Summer Bowl. We'll talk with him and some of the other top finishers in just a moment. First, let's take a look at tonight's full race results. And Malik finally gets that first win in the Omega Cup by a 0.3 of a second margin to Garrett Maines, who comes home in second, and Zach Novak, who comes home in third. We'll get a word with all of those drivers in just a few moments. Conklin and Swank sneak in late, have a top 5 finishes for those two drivers, and then a couple of big movers. Yakov Kursadov, 22nd to 6th, Brandon Black 25th to 7th. Big moves for those drivers to get some good positions. They'll finish ahead of Michael Sturgill, Cody Harris, and Jakob Samanta inside of the top 10.
Jason Maines finishes this one in 11th place. Derek Fulton back in 12th in the 70 car. Brandon Barrier dealt with some contact here and there, but nonetheless, he comes home in 13th place. Aaron Rahman in the 36 is 14th. Chris Wetz in the 71 is top 15. Cody Nago started dead last in this field, but nonetheless is able to work through a mid-pack finish in 16th place. Vicente Guerrero going to finish in 17th. 18th goes to Christopher Heights. 19th to Michael Guest, who suffered a big accident late in the going. And then finalizing your top 20, Joe Hobbs in the 27 car.
That was halfway through. We take a look at 21st through 30th position, led off by Alex Jones, who had a spin early. He's able to bounce back. Same with DeAndre Kane, who found himself in some precarious spots. 22nd, not all that bad when it's all said and done. Trent Cusack comes home in 23rd, Keegan Doherty in 24th, and then Jake Ballmain in 25th. Dustin Scruggs 26th, Chris Papa 27th. Raul Alves had a good race car, but not the result that car was worthy of. He settles tonight for 28th position. Mark Lemore was a lap down early. He bounces back a little bit for a P29 finish, but again, unable to finish on the lead lap. That's the same story for John Anderson, who's P30.
And then there's the pair of Andrews who found trouble in this race. 31st to Schroeder, 32nd to Hennigar. Matt Johnson in the 17 finishes in 33rd. 32 laps down, Christopher Reagan went for a spin midway through the race, found troubles later on. 34th as well, here finish. Andre Castro started tonight in 4th, then had a wheel disconnection midway through the race, ends up 35th. Larry McDonald in 36th, TJ Allain in 37th, Matthew Lee, Cody Beasley, and Cole Larson round out the 40-car field from Newton, Iowa tonight.
And it's a look top to bottom at your full race results. Now let's get a word with tonight's winner. Malik Reyes, the Summer Bowl champion, and Jesse Iwuji is with him.
Malik, you are the winner. How are you feeling? I mean, I see that big smile over there. You got $4,000 coming for you. I mean, what was it like on those final laps? Because, I mean, I know you were hanging on for dear life. So much happened throughout this race.
Yeah, man. I was just on 2 tires at the end of the race there, and I was just trying to hang on. I knew I didn't have the same grip level as Zach or Garrett or Guess, but I was just trying to make sure that, like, I was able to like save my tires and like still like keep clean air in my car, because I knew like if I lost clean air that, I was gonna lose my shot at the $4,000. So
yeah, but you ended up getting it. You made all the right calls. You made all the right decisions. So for someone like you, right, here on a simulator, right, most people would call it a video game, quote unquote. You got $4,000 coming for you. I mean, what are you gonna do with that? What is somebody like you as a sim racer who's streaming and constantly racing on here? What are you gonna do with something like that?
I mean, to be quite honest with you, man, I mean, I would go to Chick-fil-A right now, but they're closed. So tomorrow, that'll probably be the first stop I make. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to win. So like, I don't really have any, like, I don't have any plans to be able to do with the money yet.
Well, I'm sure you're going to figure that one out. I mean, so you got 4,000 coming your way. I mean, you were going against a very stacked field of drivers here. I mean, there's drivers who race in real life, drivers who race on the sim here, all really good. Coke drivers, you name it, folks who have raced in a lot of big races, and they're very, very skilled at a track that's very difficult, especially with this car. What was your thoughts going into this race on how you really wanted to play this whole thing out?
I just knew I needed to get clean air. Like around like the halfway point. I knew that if I could get clean air that I would have a shot at the win. I just needed to like have a couple of cautions and stuff. And I did get a couple of cautions, and that's what helped me out a lot. So, I just played the strategy right. I took 2 tires at the right time, and, I was able to hold them off.
And ERA, the Omega Cup, it's different than any other event on iRacing. What is it like racing in an event like this? What is ERA? What is Omega Cup? What does this whole thing mean to you?
It's very nerve-wracking. I get more nervous for these races than I do for Coke races, because they're like, I think they're like every like 3 months or 4 months. So like, it's not that many of them. And I know that like, if you make a mistake, or like if you make the wrong call, then you can like throw yourself out of a chance at the money. So you just gotta just make sure that you're flawless, and you just keep the track position that you have at all times.
So much on the line, and you were able to keep your cool the entire time. You're going back and forth, trying to take the lead, lose the lead, maybe fall back a little bit. Your pit strategies all over the place. I mean, with so much going on, what does someone like you do to stay calm throughout it? Because it's a lot. It's stressful.
To be quite honest with you, man, like I really don't know. I just try to picture the end goal, and I feel like if I have to like outrace anyone, I mean, I'm gonna put my money on me every time. So
yeah, bet on yourself.
To do tonight.
That's the best way to do it. Bet on yourself. Do you got anyone you want to thank for helping you get this far? Because it is no easy feat at all to get here. I mean, it takes time, it takes energy, money, it takes everything to get to this point. Who do you want to thank?
I want to thank Spire Motorsports and you guys for broadcasting, and that's really it. And Zach Novak and Garrett Maines and guest, all of them raced me clean at the end of their race, so I appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Good sportsmanship. That's what we love to see with ERA and the eRacing Association and the Omega Cup. Man, great job, Malik. That was awesome. And then we're turning it back out to you, Evan.
And Malik Ray adds his name to the list of a lot of very important race winners who have found victory lane here in the ERA. Meanwhile, we'll talk to the driver who comes home in second spot. Kenneth, you talked with Garrett Maines pre-race. You've got him now post-race as the P2 finisher.
He comes back full circle. Garrett Maines in second here after this 124-lapper from the virtual Iowa Speedway. And Garrett, you had the fresh tires by at least 22 laps. It looked like you were there to chase down Malik Ray. What was missing there in those final 2 laps to potentially get around Ray and grab the $4,000?
About 15 laps. Just unfortunately, we pit and didn't get to go green basically at all. I mean, I knew that going in that there was a risk of that. And unfortunately, because we basically had cautions directly after I pit, everybody that stayed out had not an advantage, but they had the track position, and I had a significantly decreased advantage. So I was only about a tenth faster than anybody. And I mean, I had the pace, I felt like, in general, to go out there and hot lap, but I needed the top. The track kind of went away on the bottom. So it was just extremely hard to make up any of that ground. And I got lucky on a couple restarts. I made up some ground just naturally, but just wasn't really in position there at the end to get it done. If I had an extra lap, I felt like I easily, if I had literally one more lap, I could have done it, but I had to drive way over what the car can handle to try to make up the gap because I didn't have an advantage, not significant enough to go plow through the dirty air and go get him. So I don't know. I mean, this race from the get-go kind of just went downhill. I didn't want to drive as hard as Zach was at the beginning because if I drove that hard, I knew they were going to come right back to us, and caution came out. It really didn't matter. I just got stuck behind lap cars that straight up did not restart the race. I kid you not, we're going, and he's hard on the brakes. Destroyed my nose, had to pit, fix the car, drive back through the field. Just literally have the same thing happen with 35 to go. Somebody stayed out from the back 30 and did not go as the leader. Second place was ahead. We got to the line. It just couldn't catch a break on that. Felt like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time quite a few times. But, I mean, she'd come away second after a night like this. It's disappointing because I know I could have won, but I'll take second. That's better than what has happened the last couple of these. So at the end of the night, I'll take that, and I'll sleep good tonight.
Out of the top 3, Garrett, you've had the most swing out of anyone to finish this race because you were at one point in the lead, you were at one point in second, then at third, at fourth, you were back in 22nd at one point. It felt like you had to claw your way through the race no matter what. So to get $500 after all this, I know it isn't $4,000, but $500 certainly sounds pretty good. What are you going to do with the money after this second place finish tonight from Iowa?
Jokingly, I asked Malik with this $4,000, was he buying his ski pass for next year? I just bought mine yesterday, so I was like, I just paid for 70% of it. So, shoot, I don't really know where the money's going. I'll probably be holding on to it, but I mean, I'm so happy to have been able to come back and be in position there to get something done. Hope was kind of lost there when I was sitting ninth with less than 10 to go. So definitely more than happy to take home second tonight.
I think since I asked you this at the beginning of the show, pre-race, it's fair that I ask you it now. Anything you learned potentially for Coke Series racing in 2 weeks' time from here?
Man, well, that's probably going to be a sprint race too. So, I mean, I definitely learned how to push and learned where you got to be. Unfortunately, I wasn't there tonight. So, I mean, learned from our mistakes, I guess. But, I mean, I think it's a gamble. I think it even will be a gamble in the Coke race where it's going to come down to who wants to go, who doesn't. And can you hold on to your track position? And, I mean, only time will tell what we're going to be able to do in the Coke race. But I feel like we're going to be a strong contender there if we have the car for it. So looking forward to that. And before I go, I want to give a huge shout out to Scott at MCU Body, Lennox, the guys at Left Court Brothers, FGR Excel, and huge shout out to the guys at Ryko for supporting all season. And just, I mean, we've been killing it on the race setup. So huge thank you to them for all their support.
relentless all night long, and it pays off figuratively and literally with a second place finish here at Iowa Speedway. Best of luck, Garrett, in the future. Congratulations on the second place finish, and hopefully we'll see you at the Fall Bowl later this year to defend your win at Irwindale from last year, or 2 years ago, rather.
Hopefully. Is that where we're going? Is that a little leak there?
On the schedule right now, it seems like it is.
We like a little bit of trickery out there.
We'll see. I'd be excited to go back to Irwindale. That was a great time last time. I remember running the flat. That was wild. So much fun. But hopefully it'll be a good show.
Well, Garrett, we certainly appreciate the time. On behalf of all of us here at Podium Esports, congrats on the second place finish.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
That is the number 23 of Garrett Maines coming home in second. Evan, you've got the third place finisher, Oxygen Esports' Zach Novak.
In the end, Zach Novak leads more laps than anybody else tonight, 57 in total. It'll be a third place finish, though. Zach, tell us about this one, because you ended up front right off of the bat early in this one, and we're in the conversation throughout.
Yeah, definitely would be lying if I said I wasn't frustrated. Felt like that was my race to lose, and I guess my race to win, however you want to phrase it. But yeah, just really unfortunate that tires didn't matter as much as I expected. That one little long run we got. I know Malik and maybe Garrett even were starting to struggle quite a bit, and I was as well. I was pretty free, and I knew just on the long run the car built free, and obviously that's a majority on the right rear tire, but I figured 2 tires wouldn't really help that. So I just kind of hoped we would get a long enough run to make the 4 tires matter, and yeah, we didn't. So definitely really frustrating. Glad we could get out with something, but yeah, felt like that was my 4,000 to lose, and feels like it's happened quite a bit recently with Phoenix as well a couple months ago.
And of course, race it against guys like Matt and Malik in tonight. And of course, that Phoenix race that you referenced, still looking for that. This is like this vary to say a Coke Series race when you're with the same guys every week. Does it feel any different for you, or because you're running around a lot of those same faces up front, is it pretty familiar?
I think at the end, they feel like super familiar to a Coke race because, if you're restarting second in an important race like that where money's on the line, like it feels like a Coke race. But at the start of the race, it's way more like just calm, and everybody's way more, I guess, relaxed, right? Like it doesn't really seem as much of a big money race at the start, and then once you get to about halfway and that inevitable caution falls, then it gets pretty dicey.
When you mentioned big money, that's kind of the cloud that hangs over. Is there's a lot on the line for one race, but you're somebody who's familiar to that spotlight, right? You've won a 2018 eNASCAR Ignite Series championship. Of course, that 2019 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series championship. Malik said that he gets more nervous for these because of that big money in one race. Does that faze you at all, or have you done enough of these big events, whether it be this or Coke or other things across the sim, that you're not really thinking about that?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me. I think everybody gets affected by it in one way or another. I kind of always say if I'm not nervous or anxious, whatever it may be, getting ready for a race or in a big situation like that, then I shouldn't be doing it anymore. So, obviously you have to kind of learn how to manage that, and I've been working really hard on getting better with it, and I think I have over these last couple of years after that championship. But yeah, there's really only so much you can do in situations like that, and fortunately, it just didn't go our way tonight.
I'll toss you the same question that's gone to some of the other eNASCAR guys tonight, and that's the fact that Iowa's an interesting venue for us here tonight because we'll be there in less than 2 weeks in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Any lessons learned that can help you as you enter a critical point in that championship?
The main lesson that I learned tonight is don't overvalue your tires. I think in the Coke Series, we've kind of learned that by now. Tires mean a lot less than we might think. But at the same time, just, pick and choose your spots and be smart. And in terms of the way the track races, I didn't really learn anything. Kind of expected that, back when we did that race on NBC a couple of years ago, or 5 years ago now. Feels like it was yesterday. But, the track kind of raced the same as it did tonight, similarly. So I kind of think I have that under control in terms of what lines to use and whatnot. But in terms of, how the race is going to play out, I definitely think I've learned a couple valuable things tonight that hopefully we can apply in 2 weeks and go chase a win.
Looking forward to that one. Also looking forward to seeing when inevitably we're talking about you in victory lane in one of these races, because you're always up and in contention, Zach. Before we let you bounce, anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah, just want to thank Wendy's, Coca-Cola, everybody at Oxygen Esports, and all the guys back behind the scenes at Lockdown Racing as well for their support every single week. And, yeah, thanks to Makoni Setup Shop as well, and all of our partners over at Oxygen, and as well as Splash and Go Graphics and Cosmin for putting together this awesome paint. Really is, in my opinion, the best you can get. So very pleased with it, and solid run tonight. We'll take it. Thanks to you guys for talking to me.
Well, tell you what, appreciate you sticking around and chatting with us. Blake steals all the interviews on Tuesdays, so it's good to talk with you, Zach. Hopefully, for your case, next time it's in victory lane, but congrats.
Good to talk to you too, man. Thank you.
Your third place finisher tonight. That's Zach Novak, who comes home in the money tonight. That's going to be $250 for him of the $5,000 prize. Of course, the big story is the $4,000, Jesse, that goes to our race winner, our champion of this Summer Bowl. Malik Ray breaks through and gets it done.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for him. It's super awesome because he's been racing in a lot of these races, and he's come up short from winning that 4,000 a few times now. He's finished in the top 5, top 3, and I knew it was coming. And then finally, he put it all together. It's difficult. It's not easy. I mean, it is not easy to drive these vehicles on this sim, drive them at this track. It's not easy at all, especially when you're going against some very, very stiff competition. So for him to come up and win this, it's pretty cool. And man, I'm pumped for him. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Obviously, we still have 2 more events this year before we head into the next year. We do 4 more events in the next year and the next year and next year, because we're going to be around for a long time. But I'm super excited to see where everything's going and how it continues to grow. I look forward to seeing more winners, new winners, even people who maybe no one even thought would have won. Everybody's got a shot. So I'm pumped with what I saw tonight. It was some great racing, and I think everyone had a really, really good time.
The beauty is you get these big names, but you've also got Conklin and Swank and Kirsanov right there with some of those top NASCAR names. And this race had a little bit of everything tonight, Kenneth. The pitch strategy, the tire strategy, or if you ask Zach, maybe lack thereof for what he was hoping would benefit him in terms of fighting for the race win. And it all comes down seemingly like it always does when you're talking about NASCAR short track racing, with a green-white checker run to the end.
Hey, but Jesse had the bet call pay off tenfold, that we were only going to get 1 attempt in instead of maybe 2 or 3, or even end this race under yellow. But you're right, we had a mix of strategy calls with guys like Garrett Maines coming in a bunch of times down pit road, others taking 4, Malik Ray taking 2, which ended up being the winning call, all the yellows, and then in some ways we ended up with long green flag runs somehow throughout the race. We had almost everything from Iowa, which almost makes me interested to see if we'll see Iowa sometime down the line in either the Omega Cup further in the next several years, or what may have you, because it brought us a pretty fun race and certainly a challenge for the drivers on track.
And it's not uncommon to see tracks make multiple appearances, and Jesse, I'll go back to you on this. Fall Bowl will be a full circle moment for this ERA Omega Cup, because it was way back December 16th of 2020 when we started this thing with the Winter Bowl at Nashville. So if winter's kind of the start of the season, fall makes it the end of the season. So when we get to that Fall Bowl, we're talking 4 complete seasons of racing. Is it going to be at Irwindale? What's next to come that people can look out for, and how do they get involved if somebody was watching tonight and says, I want to be racing in that one?
You know what? I can tell you this. It's going to be on a track on iRacing. That's what it's going to be. That's all I can promise. That's all I can promise. Honestly, we try to mix it up. Yeah, there is sometimes we go back to the same tracks. Obviously, we always typically start off the calendar year with Daytona, right? Big Daytona race. It gives a lot of people an opportunity to potentially win. It coincides with the big Daytona race in NASCAR in real life. So a lot of things going on there. We're always starting off. But from there, we try mixing it up. You know, usually in May, we have a road course race, but we wanted to try something different because NASCAR is going back to Iowa. So we're like, hey, why not throw that into the schedule? There's a ton of tracks we still haven't even gone to yet. So we want to continue to mix it up. We want to go to fun places. We don't want to make it just only cookie cutter, you name it. We just want to try different things. So who knows? Maybe it is Irwindale. Maybe it's not. You know, maybe we go to Nürburgring. I don't know.
You have to tune in. You have to sign up to find out. And Jesse, I'll go back to you on this again before we close. There's so many people that help you and everybody else behind the scenes at the ERA make these events possible. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to plug and thank all of them.
Most definitely. Yeah, we've had a lot of folks helping out. You know, obviously our eRacing Association crew, the folks at Gaplum, the Red List Group, you know, the folks at Notable Live as well, Podium Esports for just doing an amazing job with the broadcast every single event. I mean, it's always top notch and we're always putting on a great show here. Obviously, my great crew here with us right here on the broadcast team, Kenneth and Evan, all of y'all do an amazing job. Everybody together, it's a huge team effort to make this happen. This isn't easy to do this kind of stuff and have TV level type broadcasts. I mean, it's really cool and exciting to just always not only be a part of it, but also to watch it and to see how this whole thing comes together. But for anybody looking to jump into our league and compete, right? You saw this tonight. You're like, hey, I want to jump in. I want to do this. The best thing you can do is go to our website, head to www.eragaming.gg. If you head to our website, you can sign up to become a member. And once you become a member, you are automatically entered into every single race. You don't have to pay any additional fees for each race. You're just in every race. So that's something cool for our members. They can compete for the money, and people end up making some decent money from these events as long as they finish in the top 5. So big thanks to everybody who competed, all the fans, all the supporters who have watched it, and folks who will watch it after this, right? We had a certain amount of people watch it during the event, and we'll have a lot more after this watch it over the coming days and weeks. So thank you to everybody. It's been absolutely incredible, and I look forward to our next event, which will be the Fall Bowl, and it will happen in September or October. We'll see exactly. And the track, well, I guess you just got to stay tuned to find out.
You'll have to either be on track and qualifying for it or tuning in to find out what it is, but we hope that you will join us that time. Until then, that is it for us here from Iowa. Again, a big thanks to the entire team at the eRacing Association. Jesse, that includes you, but of course, Matt Casto, Kevin Johnson, everybody else, as well as the folks over at iRacing for hosting tonight's broadcast on their social channels. On behalf of the entire team at Podium Esports, for Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in Race Control, and for our broadcast team tonight, for our camera builder, Dougie Beard, producer Ryan Bauer, and the folks upstairs alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, for Kenneth Bueno and Jesse Awuji. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's broadcast of the ERA Omega Cup Summer Bowl. Congratulations to Malik Ray, who's your ERA Summer Bowl champion.